Chapter 397. That's... The green-robed old man stared intently, and the figure gradually became clearer. Silver hair, silver face, and white robes. Could it be? The green-robed elder could not believe it. According to the rumors in the Heavenly Law Alliance, Yin had been taken away by the Empire of Darkness and died along the way. It was impossible for him to still be alive. Huang Xiaoyan's mouth twitched as she stared blankly for a moment. She then shouted with hatred, "I remember this person. He's the handsome boy from the 100 Territories Alliance Conference, Yin. He is brother Yao Yue's enemy." It really was him. The green-robed old man's face darkened. "How dare you come here?" Xiaoyan informed the castle guards immediately. During the battle at the Phoenix Cabinet, Su Yu had killed Heaven Master Shun Kong with a single glance. This matter had spread throughout the world and caused an uproar. How could the green-robed old man dare to be negligent? There is no need for that. I will appear in front of the guards. However, I came here in a hurry, so I didn't bring enough congratulatory gifts. I will need to borrow them from the two of you. Su Yu floated down with a smile on his face, but his eyes were filled with a coldness that didn't belong to Su Yu. The green-robed old man shouted in a deep voice, "Xiaoyan, go quickly." He held onto his walking stick and stared at Su Yu coldly. "Unfortunately, you are not within the invitation list of the Yu clan. The Yu clan does not need your congratulatory gift. Please leave." Su Yu stood where he was and looked at the green-robed elder in front of him. How could he forget that it was he who had tried to kill Su Yu in the 100 Territories Alliance? At that time, Su Yu was just an ant in his eyes. Now, the two of them had the same level of cultivation. Whether you need it or not isn't important. What's important is that I'm going to give it to you. I want to give it to you. These 3 words were domineering. How audacious was the Northern Continent Alliance? Who dared to say such words in front of the continent? Yin, do you want to force your way in? Is this the behavior of a dynasty's deputy palace master? So you could not help but let out a long laugh. Rude? Back then, when I was only at the Dragon Realm, did all of you treat me with respect? I was heavily injured and on the verge of death in the Phoenix Cabinet. So when have you been polite to me? Now, you want me to respect you? What a joke. The green-robed old man's heart sank. He gritted his teeth and could only endure it. When the reinforcements arrived, they would gather their men and kill this dangerous person in the cradle. I'd like to see how amazing the legendary genius of the Northern Continent is. The green-robed old man held his walking stick and shouted coldly. Su Yu stood his ground, and only 2 sharp arrows appeared in his chest. The blood-red color was like the blood flowing out of Su Yu's body. It was strange and mysterious. Whoosh! 2 arrows were shot. The green-robed old man's heart skipped a beat. He felt like his body was about to collapse in the face of this evil power. Huh! With a loud shout, the green-robed old man waved his crutch to block the arrow that was shot at him. However, this strange blood arrow was actually a living thing. He bypassed the crutch and struck in the chest. Puff! A horrifying scene appeared. The old man's body turned into black ashes with a puff. Only his head remained intact. Before the old man could even feel the pain, only his head was left. Whoosh! The blood arrow returned with a wisp of essence, causing Su Yu's body to feel satisfied. As for the other blood arrow, it struck Huang Xiaoyan like a bolt of lightning, turning her body into ashes. However, her essence was too weak, so you could not feel it all. I wonder how long it would take to use this technique to steal another person's cultivation level and reach the level of Heaven Master. Su Yu expressionlessly carried the 2 heads and stepped into the castle. Deep within the castle, it was decorated with lanterns and a festive atmosphere. Wu Yaoyue was Yu Yao. He wore a fiery red gown and was in high spirits. He was in a festive bedroom, his face filled with longing as he stared at the side of the bed at the fiery red bride. Her demeanor was cold, like an ice mountain. Her figure was slender and graceful. Wrapped in a phoenix robe, she was extremely alluring. At the moment, she was motionless, her expression cold. Wu you're my bride today. I will treat you wholeheartedly for the rest of my life. Yu Yao could not conceal the joy in his heart. Mo Wu's face was filled with anger, but she could not move or speak. Wooer, don't worry. After the ceremony, I will remove your forbidden technique, Yu Yao said. With the help of the ninth Saint Master, he had successfully removed the sword from Mo Wu's body. She could not commit suicide even if she wanted to. As long as the rice was cooked in the future, Yu Yao believed that Mo Wu would slowly submit to him. You should understand my intentions. I truly love you. Otherwise, I would not have avoided you for so long. I hope you can understand my sincerity. After saying this, Yu Yao stood up and left. I will go welcome the guests. Someone will bring you to the ceremony later. Mo Wu's eyes were filled with fury. Why had he not touched her? Because Yu Yao had reservations. He was worried that if he forced himself on her, she would use the sword energy in her body to injure him. Truly loving her was just a dignified reason. Thinking back to her fate in the past half a year, Mo Wu felt bitter. But she was even more worried about her master's fate. Had she been rescued? Had her face recovered? Also, a handsome face flashed past Mo Wu's mind, her eyes misty. After this day, she would never have the face to face Su Yu again. Creak! At that moment, the door opened. A beautiful fairy-like woman in a fluttering white robe walked into the room quietly with a pure and holy aura around her. The moment she saw the woman, Mo Wu felt ashamed. How could there be such a beautiful woman in the world? Her appearance, cultivation level, and temperament were all exquisite. Your name is Mo Wu? You were forced to marry Yu Yao? The woman's expression was kind and holy. Mo Wu blinked her eyelids in agreement. The holy woman smiled. Her smile was like the spring breeze, extremely beautiful. As a woman, Mo was also dazed. I was asked by someone to save you. After you leave from the back door, do not look back. Do you understand? After saying this, the holy woman took off her snow-white robe and changed it into Mo Wu's phoenix robe. You leave first. I will calm the people outside and find a chance to leave. The holy woman released Mo Wu's forbidden technique. Mo Wu opened her mouth and said anxiously, "Who asked you to save me? Also, your life will be in danger." The holy woman calmly shook her head. "In any case, I was asked by someone. You should leave quickly. I have a way to escape. Leave quickly." After being freed, Mo Wu was overjoyed. After hesitating for a while, she stomped her feet. "All right, be careful." After saying this, she quietly left. As for the woman in the phoenix robe, she sneered. "Yu Yao, oh Yu Yao, it's not that easy to get rid of me. I don't believe that you can object to our wedding in front of everyone." This woman was Feng Xian. She was unwilling to let Yu Yao marry someone else, so she took the risk. Yu Yao's strength was average, but his status was what Feng Xian desired the most. How noble was the descendant of the ninth Saint Master. As for that Mo Wu, Feng Xian snorted. "Consider yourself lucky. If I wasn't worried that Yu Yao would go berserk if I killed you, would you still be alive?" Feng Xian grabbed the red veil with her slender hands and covered her head with anticipation. In the hall ahead, the guests waited quietly. The four great ancient clans and the Heavenly Law Alliance came to congratulate them. Apart from the Empire of Darkness, which they did not have a good relationship with, all the forces of the continent came to congratulate them. The return of the Yu clan to the human world was a great shock to the forces of the continent. From that day onwards, the name of the North Continent Alliance and the Yu clan would be even more famous. Thank you, everyone, for coming to attend the wedding. Yu Yao is very grateful. Yu Yao bowed to the guests, scanning his surroundings. The four great ancient clans sat next to each other. The people from the Heavenly Law Alliance sat opposite him. The elders of the four great ancient clans had brought along their youths. For example, a Heaven Master from the Sure clan had brought along an Immortal Realm Level 4 Peak Junior. The other three clans were about the same. Only the Heavenly Law Alliance had sent one person, a 20-year-old youth. Most importantly, his abilities were terrifyingly strong. Human King, a true human king. The elders of the four great ancient clans could not hide their fear when they looked over. Yu Yao also felt a shred of respect, secretly shocked. The Heavenly Law Alliance was indeed a legendary giant. To think that there was a proud genius among them who did not lose to the 7 lords of darkness. A 20-year-old human king. How talented was he? Looking at him carefully, not only was he young, but he was also handsome. He had a generous aura and a sharp aura. Both his cultivation level and aura were extraordinary. He was like a crane among chickens, unusually eye-catching among the guests. That is Long Feiyu from the Heavenly Law Alliance. He is indeed a talent. Among the 4 great ancient clans, the elder of the Sure clan smiled and praised. I wonder what kind of surprise Nephew Long has brought to Yu Yao? In other words, he wanted to know what kind of gift Long Feiyu had given him. His words seemed to be praising Long Feiyu, but they were actually praising him first. Long Feiyu waved his feather fan, not giving in. Don't worry. No matter how rich your gift is, it cannot compare to mine. Such impolite words really made people feel somewhat resentful. The elder of the Sure clan maintained his smile. Haha, it is good that Nephew Long is so confident. Since that is the case, I will show my incompetence first. After saying this, he took out a black gourd from his robes. It was unknown what material the gourd was made of, but it was extremely heavy. Even a heaven master like him found it difficult to lift it. Furthermore, the gourd was sealed tightly, not a single thing leaking out. Nephew Yu Yao, I have nothing else to give you. A bottle of Tiani divine water is a token of my sincerity. As soon as these words came out, it caused a great commotion. Tiani divine water? Among the 8 great ancient clans, the Sure clan is famous for its poison. Tiani divine water is the water that protects the clan. It is rumored that 1 drop can kill a heaven master. It is not usually given to outsiders. To think that they would use it as a congratulatory gift today? The other guests secretly realized where the problem lay. It seemed that the 9th Saint Master was very intimidating. The forces that had come to congratulate him did not dare to be negligent. Since that is the case, I will also show my incompetence. Nephew Yu Yao, this is a fragment of a technique that the Ming clan treasures. Fragment? Everyone did not understand. The Ming clan was famous among the 8 great ancient clans for being proficient in all kinds of techniques. Why would they only bring a fragment of a congratulatory gift? This is a fragment of a fire-based technique. As for its level, it is a myth. What? Everyone's expression changed. It was a legendary cultivation technique. Even if it was just a fragment with only a few words, it would definitely shock the entire continent. The Ming clan was actually willing to bring this item out. Haha, then I will congratulate Nephew Yu Yao as well. This is the 10,000 clans short-distance wings. After refining it, you can travel 10,000 miles in an instant. Chapter 398. So near, yet worlds apart wings was the treasure of the myriad clans that specialized in flying. Everyone's gazes finally landed on the Li clan's elders. The first 3 clans were intimidated by the 9th Saint Master and had taken out their most precious treasures. What about the Li clan? The elders of the Li clan had an ugly expression. No one would be able to accept it if they were forced to hand over their clan's treasure. Unfortunately, the situation was pressing. Hee. Nephew Yu Yao, take this death bugle horn. It comes from ancient times, and if it is given to the right person, it can summon the souls of the dead. There was a heavy silence on the field. Even the arrogant Long Feiyu could not help but take a few more glances at the item. There was a hint of greed in his eyes. The death horn was a legendary high-grade weapon. That's right, high tier. It was a high-grade divine artifact that no middle-grade divine artifact could compare to. In the entire continent, there were no more than 5 high-grade divine artifacts. This death horn was one of them. However, this bugle horn could only be used by someone who possessed the aura of death. The Li clan possessed death energy, but they couldn't unleash even 1% of the divine weapon's power, apart from not having enough death chi. Most importantly, the mark of this divine weapon's master was still there and could not be erased. Young master, this is a small token of my appreciation. Please accept it. The Anua city master walked out and took out a bottle of blood essence. There were 10 drops of it. 10,000 soldier liquid. The 10,000 soldier liquid that could erase the mark of a divine tool. Everyone's hearts jumped, and the elders of the Li clan revealed looks of greed. This was the horn of death returning to the mortal world. Yu Yao's breathing quickened, and he found it hard to conceal the wild joy in the depths of his eyes. There were too many treasures. Each of them was a peerless treasure that could shake the continent. Now, everything belonged to him. However, he had yet to put away these items, because there was still one last person he was looking forward to the most. Long Feiyu. What kind of gift would the Heavenly Law Union bring him? Shua. Long Feiyu took out a token from his robes. It was completely black and exuded a cold aura. An incomparably ferocious black dragon was carved on it. Token of the Dragon Abyss of the 9 Underworlds. Young Master, if it is possible, raise your cultivation base to Immortal Level 4 peak. This way, you might be able to use it. As soon as this item appeared, everyone was shocked. What? It's the token of the Dragon Abyss of the 9 Underworlds. The elders of the 4 ancient clans were also shocked. The juniors they brought with them all had looks of greed and eagerness on their faces. The elder of the Sure clan sucked in a breath of cold air. I didn't expect that Nephew Long would actually bring such a great treasure. In other words, he had already admitted defeat. The Tiani Divine Water could only kill a Heaven Master, but the token of the Dragon Abyss of 9 Underworlds could kill a Heaven Master long ago. It was rumored that in the Endless Sea, there was a Dragon Abyss of the 9 Underworlds, which was created by the Heavenly Law Union. The Heavenly Law Union had sealed the continent's most vicious and evil people, who had been suppressed by the Heavenly Law Union since ancient times. From the Heaven Ascension realm to the Sovereign Personage, it was even rumored that even demigods were suppressed there. Since ancient times, countless people had been suppressed. As for how many were still alive, no one knew. The only thing he knew was that there was an amazing mystic realm inside. Countless unique secret treasures of the 9 underworlds grew within them. Many of them were nature-defying items that could allow one to break through to become a Heaven Master overnight. However, this place was sealed all year round, and only the Dragon Abyss of the 9 Underworlds token made by the Heavenly Law Alliance could bypass the seal and enter. It was rumored that anyone who entered the Dragon Abyss of the 9 Underworlds and came out alive had broken through to become a Heaven Master. The prerequisite was that one's cultivation base had to reach the limits of an Immortal Level 4. Only then would it be useful. None of the treasures present could be compared to the opportunity to become a Heaven Master. There were many Immortal Level 4s in the world, but Immortal Level 4s were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Looking at the northern continent, among the geniuses of the current generation, only Shun Kong had the talent to become a Heaven Master. Apart from him, the rest were the leaders of the super forces. Even the 9th Saint Master might not be able to help Yu Yao break through to become a Heaven Master. The token of the Dragon Abyss of the 9 Underworlds was completely feasible. Yu Yao secretly took a deep breath, his eyes filled with excitement. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yu Yao cupped his fists and bowed, tears of gratitude flowing down his face. The crowd looked at the congratulatory gifts on the table, all of them having extraordinary thoughts. However, because they were afraid of the mysterious 9th Saint Master, no one dared to make a move. However, at that very moment, a gust of wind came from outside the door. With 2 thuds, 2 blood-stained balls fell onto the table. Looking at them, they were 2 bloody human heads. Moreover, they belonged to the 2 people who had been welcoming the guests at the door. I, Su, did not prepare any gifts for young Master Yu Yao's wedding. This is a small token of my appreciation. I hope you will accept it. I, Su. The crowd had never heard of him. However, someone who dared to kill a member of the Yu clan and cause trouble on the spot was definitely not someone to be trifled with. Under the crowd's shocked gazes, a white-robed youth, carrying a coffin on his back, stepped through the door. The white-robed youth was only about 17 years old. He wore a long, white robe, his figure skinny. He wore a bronze mask on his face. His hair was a bright, blood-red color. An extremely evil energy was emitted from his body. Who was this person? The On U.S. City Master Han Jianglin, and Yu Yao did not recognize him. Stepping into the house, Su Yu grabbed the wine cup on the table and downed it in one go, laughing. Great wine. Ha ha ha. Yu Yao's face was filled with anger, his heart filled with shock and fury. He had dared to cause trouble at his wedding in front of the entire continent. Huang Xiaoyan, Uncle Lu, had actually been killed. Guards! Yu Yao was furious. He slammed the table, his entire body trembling in anger. However, there was dead silence outside the door. Look, it's snowing outside. Black snow. The crowd looked outside. Indeed, within the castle, black snowflakes danced in the air. It sprinkled all over the ground. The strange scene shocked the crowd. A person with blood-red hair and a bronze mask, carrying a dragon coffin on his back, had arrived amidst the black snow. This strange identity, this strange aura, caused everyone to tremble in fear. Whoosh, 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 the guard in the backyard rushed over. Capture him. Yu Yao clenched his teeth. Creak. However, when the 10 guards were within 30 feet of him, they gasped. The youth sitting quietly on the large table in the center did not move. However, his blood-red hair fluttered abruptly, sweeping in all directions. All the guards that were swept by it transformed into black ash with a hiss, and the ash scattered down onto the ground. 10 living people had turned into black ashes in the blink of an eye. They did not even have time to react. How horrifying was that? They finally understood where the black snow outside had come from. The entire place was silent. The elders of the 4 great ancient clans stood up solemnly, their faces filled with fear. They pulled their juniors back, continuously retreating. Even though the youth before them was only an immortal realm level 4 peak, they were heaven masters. Yu Yao's pupils shrank to the size of needles, gasping. You are the Ghost Clan. Among the 8 great ancient clans, the most mysterious, terrifying, and bloodthirsty clan. They devoured the flesh and cultivation levels of all living creatures to strengthen themselves. Even though they were also part of the 8 great ancient clans, they were afraid of such an evil clan. This Ghost Clan. Thud, thud, thud. The faces of the people who were sitting around Su Yu turned pale instantly, and they hurriedly stood up and retreated. In the blink of an eye, only Su Yu was left, sitting quietly at the center of the wedding hall. What is it? Aren't you here to congratulate me? What is the meaning of this? Su Yu calmly said. Yu Yao retreated in fear, saying seriously, Why are you causing trouble on my wedding day? Su Yu's expression was indifferent. Because I have a debt of blood to settle with the North Continent's alliance. I do not understand. When did I offend the Ghost Clan? Yu Yao could not understand. Su Yu calmly said, You do not need to understand. All you need to know is that today, the North Continent will be erased. Destroying the Phoenix Cabinet had forced him to the brink of death. If not for that, Ling Xiaotian would not have needed to sacrifice his own flesh to extend Su Yu's life. For him, for Ling Xiaotian, and for his woman, the Phoenix Cabinet Master, this debt must be paid with blood. This is not a place for you to behave atrociously, Yu Yao said in fear. Don't be insolent. Su Yu's expression was cold. If you're talking about the Ninth Saint Master, I would like to know if he would still dare to show himself with his injuries. Even though Su Yu had not seen the outcome of the battle between the Ninth Saint Master and the Realm King, he could guess the outcome. The Ninth Saint Master was not in the Forest of Darkness, so Su Yu had no need to fear him. As for them, Su Yu surveyed the surroundings, his eyes cold and disdainful. Anyone who wishes to interfere with the matters between me and the North Continent's alliance only needs to stay within 10,000 feet of me. Those who do not wish to participate, retreat 1,000 miles away. I do not wish to kill indiscriminately, but do not force me to kill. The ordinary guests did not hesitate, immediately fleeing 10,000 feet away. The 4 great ancient clans hesitated. Uncle Jian, with his abilities, you should be able to handle him. Also on that table, a junior from the Sure clan pointed at the nature-defying treasures on the table that had not been collected in time. The Sure clan elder shook his head decisively, pulling the junior back. This matter has nothing to do with us. There's no need to use our lives to help the Yu clan suffer a bloody calamity. As for those treasures, with so many people here, do you think I can keep them all to myself? Let's wait and see. The ninth Saint Master has yet to show himself. Rustle, rustle. The four great ancient clans retreated. Long Feiyu gently waved the folding fan in his hands, thinking for a moment. He wore a cold smile as he also retreated 10,000 feet away. The Yu clan had secretly forced them to hand over the treasures, which was already unpopular. Furthermore, they were not stupid. They naturally would not get involved in the feud between the two clans. Everyone retreated. Only Yu Yao, Han Jianglin, and the On-US City Master were left. Su Yu casually toyed with the black gourd filled with heavenly one divine water on the table, his expression cold. Han Jianglin, On-US City Master, the feud between us shall end today. The two of them had a blood feud with Su Yu that could not be resolved, especially in the recent battle at the Phoenix Cabinet, where Su Yu had been forced to his death. This feud could only be paid with blood. Han Jianglin and the On-US City Master were shocked. How had they offended the rumored Gue clan? But the other party was obviously looking for trouble. They could not show weakness. Han Jianglin said with a cold expression, "Little brother of the ghost race, if I, Han Jianglin, have wronged you in any way, I'm more than willing to apologize. However, if you force my hand, I'm not someone to be trifled with." The On-US City Master stared at his bottle of 10,000 soldier spiritual liquid on the table. "Humph, you are so insolent at such a young age. If your elders were here, I would still be wary. But you, a child, dare to try to threaten me? You don't know your place." So you slowly stood up. Beneath his bronze mask was a pair of blind eyes, but they were overflowing with coldness. "I have acted recklessly many times," he said, "but this time I am not. All of you, prepare to pay with your lives." Chapter 399. Slap. Su Yu slapped the black gourd away. A fragrance assaulted his senses. Not good. It's the heavenly divine water. The On-US City Master's expression changed. Han Jianglin's eyelids twitched. He reacted faster than the On-US City Master, turning to escape. The heavenly divine water was rumored to be poisonous divine water that could kill Heaven Masters. Who in the world could stop it? "You really want to kill us?" The two of them roared furiously as they escaped. Su Yu flicked his finger. The 2 drops of heavenly divine water shot out. The jade-green divine water that looked like beads of jade turned into 2 green shadows that chased after the two of them. In the nick of time, the two of them took out their middle-grade divine artifacts. Creak! But a bone-chilling scene ensued. The 2 middle-grade divine artifacts were corroded. The divine artifacts were destroyed in an instant. If the divine artifacts were destroyed, wouldn't a person be turned to dust in the blink of an eye? What was even more unexpected was that after the divine artifacts were corroded, the heavenly divine water did not stop. It continued to corrode the divine artifacts, and the remnants of the divine water sprayed over the two of them. Ah! 2 pathetic cries could be heard at the same time. Looking over, their bodies were corroding at a speed visible to the naked eye, especially Han Jianglin, who was quickly rotting to the bone. His body released a pungent black smoke, quickly dissolving. Creak! A red, malicious ghost face suddenly pounced over and wrapped around Han Jianglin. With a creak, Han Jianglin's pathetic cries came to an abrupt end. A handful of gray snowflakes fell to the ground. A huge essence charged towards Su Yu like a flood. The cultivation level of Heaven Master had been completely devoured by Su Yu. His cultivation level of Immortal Realm Level 4 peak was rapidly approaching Immortal Realm Level 5. He was only 1 step away from Heaven Master. Su Yu's heart trembled, his expression wild with joy. Could he break through to Heaven Master so easily? With great anticipation, the evil ghost energy charged toward the On-US City Master. The On-US City Master struggled before his death, roaring furiously. "Ah, I will not let you off even as a ghost." Puff! His voice was cut off, his body turning into black petals, drifting in the surroundings. A shocking essence surged into his body. Suyu felt like he was walking on clouds, as if he was about to enter the mysterious level of Heaven Master. However, all of a sudden, Suyu withdrew from the exhilaration of the extreme breakthrough without any warning. The impact of the essence quickly faded. His cultivation was still stuck at the limit, and he was unable to become a Heaven Master. Even after swallowing 2 Heaven Masters, he was still unable to break through to Immortal Level 5. How big was the gap between the 4th and 5th stage? Yu Yao's face was as white as a sheet. 2 Heaven Masters had perished just like that. At this critical moment, Yu Yao roared into the sky. "Where is the demon sovereign? Protect me!" Chirp! 2 sharp cries rang out as 2 small perfection demonic monarchs flew in the sky and dove down with a baleful aura. These were 2 Heaven Masters at their peak. So, how could Suyu deal with the situation calmly now that he had lost the great first divine water? However, with a dripping sound, the evil ghost face spat out a drop of blood essence from its mouth. It was the blood essence from the heart of the 2 clans' clan master, the On-US City Master. It was also the true form of the 10,000 soldier liquid. Whoosh! With a flash of light in his other hand, a huge bow covered in blood appeared in his palm. A middle-grade divine artifact bow? Since when did the Ghost Clan possess a middle-grade divine artifact bow? Suyu's expression was calm, injecting his own blood essence and the drop of 10,000 soldier liquid into the silver bow. The remnant blood of the original owner was squeezed out. Suyu's drop of blood essence entered the silver bow, refining it by another 10%. Suyu had successfully refined the silver bow by 20%. He could finally unleash its corresponding power. Creak! Suyu pulled the bow with both hands. The bowstring that could only be pulled back 3 inches in the past was now pulled back 6 inches. A jade-green spirit energy arrow the length of a finger was clear and solid. Its terrifying power shook the surroundings. What a powerful middle-grade divine artifact. The power of this arrow is no weaker than a Heaven Master. Whoosh, whoosh, 2 arrows were shot out consecutively. The space around them trembled, and 2 cries came from above the clouds. The 2 demon sovereigns were caught off guard, and they were nearly killed. 2 great Heaven Masters had fallen. The crowd was shocked. Just a moment had passed, and Suyu had killed 4 Heaven Masters consecutively. How ferocious was that? Looking at the entire continent, Heaven Masters were rare existences. But here, they had been harvested like weeds. Looking at Suyu, the crowd's hearts thumped wildly. They were extremely shocked. The Ghost Clan was too frightening. A bolt of evil ghost energy shot into the sky, quickly swallowing the 2 demon sovereigns. At that moment, Suyu once again felt that he was about to break through his limits. But it was still not enough. A second one. Again. But it was still not enough. When the 2 bolts of essence gradually faded from Suyu's body, he was shocked. He had swallowed 4 Heaven Masters consecutively, but he still had not succeeded in breaking through to Immortal Realm Level 5. Long Feiyu stood with his hands behind his back, a mocking smile on his face. If one could break through to Heaven Master like this, then the Immortal Realm Level 5s in this world are too worthless. The elders of the 4 great ancient clans agreed. The difficulty of breaking through to level 5 is no less than the difficulty of all the previous realms combined. It is a natural chasm for martial artists. Without a fortuitous encounter, it would take decades or even centuries of accumulation to break through. Furthermore, this is only possible if one is extremely talented. Hearing this, Suyu's expression darkened. The difficulty of breaking through to Heaven Master was too heaven-defying. Turning his head to look at Long Feiyu, Suyu's gaze fixed on Yu Yao. Whoosh! Yu Yao turned and fled without hesitation. Suyu's chest glowed with a black light. All of the treasures on the table, the Ming clan's treasure, the legendary remnant fragment, the Wan clan's treasure, the short-distance wings, the Li clan's high-grade divine artifact, the Death Horn, and the Heavenly Law Alliance's token to the Dragon Abyss of 9 underworlds. disappeared in a thin air amidst the greed of the crowd, stored in Su Yu's space ring. After doing this, Su Yu closed his eyes, walking toward Yu Yao. Long Fei Yu's gaze flickered, following far behind. The elders of the 4 great ancient clans did the same. Yu Yao fled to a stone door in the backyard, screaming in fear. "Uncle Li, save me." Rumble. The stone door opened, and a middle-aged man in a gray robe walked out, his face filled with the vicissitudes of life. "What is it?" The middle-aged man in the gray robe released a terrifying aura. He was a heaven master. His eyes were cold and fierce as he looked up at the sky, filled with black snow. "Uncle Li, it's the Gue clan. The Gue clan wants to destroy the northern continent. 2 lower-tier demonic beasts, Han Jianglin and the Anya City Master, have been killed. Save me." The pupils of the middle-aged man in the gray robe shrank. "Who is it?" "It's me." A short, indifferent reply drifted over at a moderate speed. Looking to the side, he saw a red-haired youth holding a blood-red bow, striding toward him. "A blind man?" The middle-aged man in the gray robe let out a cold grunt, implying that they were too useless, unable to deal with a blind man. "To kill someone in my Yu clan, in my empire of darkness, you are looking down on me." Crack! He had just finished speaking when an arrow of spirit energy pierced through his forehead. Following that, the evil ghost energy devoured his flesh and cultivation level. Chapter 400. Hiss! The people who had chased after him all gasped. Another Heaven Master had been killed. Furthermore, it was a relative of the Yu clan. Yu Yao screamed in fear as he fled in a hurry. Unknowingly, he had escaped into the bridal chamber. Rumble! With a thunderous roar, Su Yu barged into the bridal chamber as though there was no one there. Yu Yao had nowhere to run. Su Yu calmly observed the bride. He did not use his soul eyes to see through her, but the bride's figure was exceptional. But she gave Su Yu a sense of familiarity, as though he had seen her somewhere before. She also gave off a holy aura. Shaking his head, Su Yu did not stop. It could not be such a coincidence that Wu Yaoyue's bride was someone he knew. But Yu Yao took the opportunity to ram his head into a landscape painting on the wall. A strange scene occurred. It was clearly an ordinary landscape painting, but a ripple that could be seen by the naked eye strangely spread, containing a powerful space energy. Yu Yao was instantly enveloped, his body disappearing quickly. He did not even have time to turn back to say anything. He only had time to glare at Su Yu with hatred before disappearing completely. Space transportation. He could not be more familiar with space energy. Su Yu's expression changed slightly. He quickly dashed forward, hoping to catch up to the last bit of space transportation. But when he rushed over, the landscape painting was incinerated into flames, reduced to ashes. Before the other party left, he had destroyed the transportation in this area. Su Yu's gaze was cold. This was only a short-distance transportation. The other party had not escaped far. Chase! But just as Su Yu was about to leave, a gust of wind attacked him from behind. Su Yu's expression turned cold. A sneak attack? How reckless! Regardless of who was behind him, Su Yu punched behind him without thinking. Su Yu had expected that even if this punch did not seriously injure the other party, it would at least scare him away. Unexpectedly, the other party's physical techniques were extraordinary. He had dodged the punch with great speed and closed in on Su Yu. Su Yu's heart shuddered. He tapped his toes, wanted to open up some distance. But at this moment, a strange fragrance entered his nose. The blood in his body boiled, and his rationality crumbled. What poison is this? Su Yu was shocked. Thud, thud. Soft footsteps could be heard coming from behind him. When he turned around, it was the bride dressed in red. This stupid woman. You mistook me for a groom. Feeling the strangeness of his rationality, Su Yu found it funny and infuriating at the same time. Yu Yao, could it be that you still don't understand my feelings? How can a Mo Wu compare to me? Feng Xian grumbled slightly. In order to prevent herself from being seen through, she could only resort to this method. I am the Northern Continent's holy maiden. Many people dream of having my first time. Tonight, I will give it all to you. Are you still not satisfied? Under the red veil, Feng Xian guided him patiently. Su Yu's heart shook violently. This voice, Feng Xian, that woman who deceived her master and destroyed her ancestors, and whose heart was as vicious as a snake. She had poisoned her master, killed the cabinet master, and killed countless female disciples of the Phoenix Cabinet. She could not escape the blame. It was actually her. Suyu had never expected this. With a wave of murderous intent, fury, and evil thoughts, Suyu turned around and pulled off her red veil. "Open your eyes and see who I am." Feng Xian's expression changed. She pushed him away as if she had been electrocuted. "You're not Yu Yao," she said in shock. Looking over, it was a blind masked youth with blood-red hair and white clothes. Who are you?" Feng Xian was furious. She had actually thrown herself into the arms of a stranger she did not know. So you let out a long, hoarse laugh. "You have forgotten me so quickly." His right hand removed the mask, revealing his complete face. Feng Xian still felt that he was a stranger. But when Su Yu's blood-red hair gradually turned silvery white, she screamed in fear, You are Inu." During the battle at the Phoenix Cabinet, he had killed Shin Kong with one glance. He had fought against 3 heaven masters alone, a frightening existence like the god of death. How could she forget such a frightening figure? "Looks like you still remember me." Su Yu smiled, his smile extremely evil. "Answer me. Where is Mo Wu?" Su Yu was even more shocked that the real woman Yu Yao wanted to marry was actually Mo Wu. Mo Wu, who had been missing since the battle at the 100 Territories Alliance, was actually the bride of this wedding. He did not need to guess to know that she had been forced into this marriage. Mo would spend her entire life working hard to restore Yuro's beauty. How could she give up halfway and marry someone? Thinking of this, a wave of anger burned in his chest. Feng Xian's terrified expression gradually returned to normal. A faintly discernible cold smile appeared on her lips. "So you also know Mo Wu. You want to know where she is?" He. "Do you think I would tell you so easily?" Mo Wu's whereabouts were her true trump card. A crazy thought formed in Feng Xian's mind. If she could control Mo Wu, would she be able to order Inu around? Such a legendary genius, such a powerful fighter. If she could use him, but Suyu had an evil smile. His smile was completely different from the usual Suyu. "Have you forgotten something?" Suyu laughed coldly. His smile was extremely evil, as if he was a completely different person from the usual Suyu. Chapter 4:01. Outside the 10,000 Zhang house, the guests stopped in their tracks to watch. Even though they could not see what was happening in the house, they could hear what was happening inside. Rumor has it that the people of the Ghost Clan are affected by the power of their bloodline, Long Feiyu said, licking his lips, his eyes glinting with a strange light. Rumor had it that Yu Yao's wife was extremely beautiful. He had not expected her to benefit the people of the Ghost Clan. When the effects of the medicine dissipated, Su Yu's expression gradually turned green. He had made such a stupid mistake. He could have caused such a misunderstanding with anyone, but it had to be a vicious woman like Feng Xian. Even though Feng Xian was the most detestable woman Su Yu had ever seen, it did not mean that Su Yu could do as he pleased. What difference was there between his actions and Feng Xian's? One was vicious, the other forcefully taking someone else's virginity. Both were actions that Su Yu despised, but he had committed one of them. Closing his eyes, Su Yu took a deep breath. How was he going to deal with Feng Xian? After thinking for a long time, Su Yu lowered his head and looked at Feng Xian, who had her eyes closed and was trembling slightly. Her body was filled with crazy marks. Murderous intents flashed past Su Yu's eyes several times. Finally, they turned into a sigh. "From now on, do not do evil anymore. If you kill anyone indiscriminately, even if I have to go to the ends of the earth, I will personally kill you. My woman, there is no one who has done evil." This was Su Yu's only concession. Feng Xian did not move. Her chest rose and fell steadily, showing her inner calmness. She had kept her chastity for 20 years, only to climb the ranks of the rich and powerful. Now all of that had been for naught. Feng Xian felt like she had lost everything. She had once fantasized about climbing the ranks of the top people. She had once fantasized about standing above countless people. Everything she had fantasized about was now destroyed. Her body was her most precious resource. Hearing that Su Yu had spared her life, Feng Xian smiled bitterly. Your woman. She had become Yu Yao's woman. The ironic ending made her feel ridiculous. But she could not bring herself to hate him. She had brought this upon herself. She had tried to become the young mistress of the Yu clan, using all sorts of methods. But in the end, she had harmed herself. Su Yu put on his clothes, looking at her profoundly. A person's life is but 3 autumns. Isn't it more interesting to rely on your own hard work to reach the peak of glory? Wholeheartedly clinging to others, you will reap the peak, but you will lose your life. Feng Xian had heard the principles of life countless times. Now that she was at the lowest point of her life, she was experiencing it again, and it was especially meaningful. He thought about how he had schemed and harmed countless people over the years. She had secretly slaughtered others, yet she appeared as a saintess. When had she ever enjoyed the slightest bit of joy? A trace of fatigue engulfed Xiao Qian's heart as he recalled the past. His life was too tiring. She had become the saintess that everyone paid attention to and enjoyed the glory of being the dream lover of millions of men. She had reached the peak, but had she ever been satisfied or relaxed? The desires of life were like a ravine, never ending. After entering the Phoenix Cabinet, she wanted to be proud of the Phoenix Cabinet. After being proud of the Phoenix Cabinet, she wanted to be famous throughout the continent. What would happen after she was famous throughout the continent? What kind of lust would it be? Hope. After staring blankly for a long time, Feng Xian's disheartened heart felt as if a door had been reopened. Su Yu gently covered her graceful body, then turned around and left. This subtle movement caused the spirit in Feng Xian's eyes to fluctuate, and a wisp of mist silently filled the air. Mo Wu, I've let her escape. You can be at ease. As Su Yu left, he heard a soft murmur beside his ear. Thank you, Su Yu said softly with his back facing the door, his expression relieved. Once Su Yu appeared, everyone's expressions changed. Ignoring them, Su Yu stood in the air, his soul eyes open. Within 10,000 miles, mountains, rivers, swamps, and hills were all visible. A figure escaping toward the snow listening tower appeared before Su Yu's eyes. Whoosh! Su Yu's figure was like the wind, leisurely giving chase. A few days later, the Yu clan's Heaven Master, who was in charge of the snow listening tower, was killed with one arrow. Those who resisted in the tower were completely annihilated. A few days later, at the Phoenix Cabinet, black blood floated in the sky, corpses littering the land. Not a single member of the Yu clan's direct line of descent was left alive. A few days later, the 100 Territories Alliance's bloody path extended for 10,000 miles, and countless families were destroyed. Black snow fell for 3 days and 3 nights. From a northernmost snow listening tower to the central region's Phoenix Cabinet, and finally to the 100 Territories Alliance. Su Yu slaughtered along the way. Anyone who protected Yu Yao was killed without mercy. All the forces close to the North Continent's alliance were massacred. Fresh blood covered millions of miles of mountains and rivers. Black snow stretched across the North Continent, like a black mountain range, standing shoulder to shoulder with the ancient Wulong snowfield. No one knew how many people Su Yu had killed. All they knew was that the Northern Continent's Heaven Masters had been wiped out. All they knew was that Su Yu had single-handedly massacred the entire North Continent. Everywhere he passed, he left behind fresh blood. What flowed was black snow. Apart from the Ninth Saint Master, the North Continent's alliance had been annihilated. They only existed in name. This month would be known as the Northern Continent's Dusk in the future. Heaven Masters were massacred in the dusk. The North Continent's alliance, which had unified the Northern Continent, collapsed in a single night, becoming a mark and symbol in history. Blood-red hair, bronze face, white robes. He became an unforgettable legend, a legend as terrifying as Azura. He did not leave behind any name, but he had a title that no one doubted. Black Snow Devil King, one man and one bow, dyeing millions of miles of mountains and rivers with blood, massacring countless lives. He represented death. He represented destruction. He represented the descent of panic. On this day, at the edge of the ocean, Yu Yao, who had been chased for millions of miles, knelt on a reef island. His expression was dispirited, his eyes lost. The North Continent's alliance had been destroyed. The Yu clan had also been destroyed. Su Yu had spared him because he wanted to find the remaining members of the Yu clan, as well as their allies. Black Snow Devil King, you humiliated my wife, wiped out my entire clan, and killed my alliance. I, Yu Yao, will not let you off even as a ghost. Yu Yao recovered a shred of energy, completely giving up on escaping. Su Yu's expression was indifferent. He gently waved the silver bow in his hand, killing him with one arrow. Whatever, Su Yu calmly said. The Yu clan had been destroyed, and the northern continent had been destroyed. The Phoenix Cabinet's master had been avenged, and so had Su Yu. Only Ling Xiaoyan's revenge had not been avenged. Lord Shun Ying and Lord Bai Luo had to pay with their blood. Chapter 402. The difficulty of breaking through to Heaven Master was much higher than he had imagined. If swallowing 4 Heaven Masters still could not break through, so you would only be shocked at the difficulty of the bottleneck. But swallowing tens of thousands of lives and bathing the entire North Continent's alliance in blood would leave Su Yu in despair. The chasm was too frightening. He had killed everyone in the North Continent, but still could not break through. The only difference was that he was only very close. He could only go to the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds and rely on opportunities to break through. Standing on the sea, Su Yu turned his head, coldly looking at Long Feiyu and the 4 great ancient clans. Your gifts are with me. If you want them back, come, Su Yu calmly said, slowly walking toward them. He slowly pulled back the silver bow in his hand. Its destructive edge shocked the hearts of the people. The elders of the 4 great ancient clans clenched their teeth. They had followed Su Yu for such a long time, waiting for him to weaken so that they could kill him and take back their clan's treasure. But Su Yu's evil ghost energy continuously swallowed his enemies. No matter how weak Su Yu was, as long as he had a breath left, he could recover. Now that the massacre was over, they had lost their chance. Black Snow Devil King, we will remember this. The 4 great ancient clans retreated. Only Long Feiyu of the Heavenly Law Alliance was left. You wish to fight, so you calmly looked over. Long Feiyu's lips curled into a mocking smile. Fight? You think too highly of yourself. I admit that I cannot bathe the North Continent in blood. I cannot be like you, using battle to nurture battle. But you are too weak in a one-on-one fight. The difference between a human king and a heaven master is not something you can understand. Su Yu understood. He had seen Lord Shenying's power with his own eyes. That was a level that far surpassed heaven masters. So, Su Yu said, Long Feiyu's eyes flashed with coldness. Is there need to say more? Hand over 4 items, and I will spare your life. First, 10,000 soldier spiritual liquid. Second, death horn. Third, short-distance wings. Fourth, the fragment of a legendary level item. As for the token of the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds, consider it my reward to you. Hand it over. Reward? Did he think Su Yu was a beggar? Su Yu kept his silver bow, his hands clasped behind his back. What if I say no? Killing intent shot out from the depths of Long Feiyu's eyes. Then die. Rumble. However, right at this moment, an earth-shattering explosion descended from the sky. In the empty sky, an ancient battleship with a circumference of hundreds of thousands of miles suddenly appeared. It covered the sky and was incomparably terrifying. Long Feiyu, quickly return to your position. A majestic shout reverberated in all directions. Long Feiyu's expression changed slightly. He wanted to attack, but he did not dare to disobey. Gritting his teeth, Long Feiyu shouted coldly, Consider yourself lucky. I advise you not to touch these things. They are entrusted to you by this young master. If you dare to touch them, humph, I'll make sure you have nowhere to go. Shua, turning into an afterimage, Long Feiyu entered the warship. When he lowered his head to look again, Su Yu was nowhere to be found. Only an indifferent voice was left behind. I hope that you can fulfill your promise and wait for your death. A trace of anger appeared in his eyes. Fei Yu, why haven't you returned yet? A figure of light appeared in the battleship. It was the Qianli incarnation that only a demigod could possess. Long Fei Yu's expression darkened as he said, "Father, do you know about the upheaval in the northern continent?" The silhouette was blurry, and one could not see his face clearly. One could only sense his cold temperament. Yes, a descendant of the ghost race, the Black Snow Devil King, appeared out of nowhere and massacred the Northern Continent Alliance. How strange. In that case, Father, do you know that he possesses the Death Horn and the 10,000 soldier liquid? The figure nodded slightly. I know. I will send someone to retrieve that divine artifact. It's too dangerous, so our Heavenly Law Alliance will take care of it. Hearing this, Long Fei Yu's expression relaxed a little. Yes, Father. Get ready. The disciple of the undead Phoenix Master, Xiaoning Shui, is about to enter the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds to train and seek a breakthrough to Heaven Master. She needs someone to protect her along the way. Get ready quickly. Long Fei Yu looked surprised. Qin Xianer wants to go to the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds? This mission belongs to me. I will definitely help Xianer to become a Heaven Master. The light figure chuckled. Go. Once you've done your job, I'll be able to matchmake the two of you with Undead Phoenix Master. Long Fei Yu smiled deeply. I understand. Leave everything to me. Empire of Darkness. At the foot of the divine peak on the steps, a beautiful silhouette stretched out under the setting sun. It was a picturesque scene. Xia Jingyu sat on the steps in a daze, her hand resting on her chin as she looked at the distant sky, lost in thought. One moment she was smiling, the next she was depressed, the next she was worried, and the next she was excited. All sorts of expressions appeared on that beautiful face. Lord Qing Zhu stood silently behind her, his face filled with shock. Ever since Lord Yu had come to this place, he had never seen her with so many expressions before. He had never seen any of them before. Yu, is Yu the bosom friend of Shenyue Island? Suyu? Lord Qing Zhu was inexplicably jealous. He could not understand why Xia Jingyu was so infatuated with Yu. Yu awoke from her daze and regained her calm expression. However, her eyes could not hide the agitation and nostalgia she felt. Yes, he was my bosom friend. We had an agreement that I would use my eyes to witness the prosperity of the Jinlong continent for him. Among the 7 lords, only Lord Qing Zhu was peaceful. He was the only friend he could converse with. Only he knew of Su Yu's existence. Lord Qing Zhu said, "Who would have thought that he, who was deemed to have no talent back then, would enter the Jinlong continent as an abnormal spirit? It is truly shocking. To be able to walk from a barren island to the position of Deputy Palace Master Yu." Lord Qing Zhu vaguely understood that Su Yu was not ordinary. But in his eyes, Su Yu was not worthy of Xia Jingyu. Xia Jingyu was a celestial being, a celestial being. Su Yu was a mortal in the world. As for who was worthy of her, in Lord Qing Zhu's eyes, at least Su Yu was not worthy. Especially after Yu had found out that Su Yu was Yu, her transformation had made him even more certain of his decision. Lord Shuning is personally pursuing him, Lord Qing Zhu said. The situation is not good. Xia Jingyu, on the other hand, revealed a breathtakingly beautiful smile. Her smile was filled with dazzling confidence. He will be fine. I believe in him. I believe in him more than I believe in myself. Believe in him more than you believe in yourself? A thread of jealousy flashed past Lord Qing Zhu's eyes. A thought flashed past Lord Qing Zhu's mind. Perhaps it would be best if Yu died. He did not think that Su Yu was worthy of being Xia Jingyu's confidant. At least, he did not think that Su Yu was stronger than him. All right, Lord Qing Zhu said, changing the topic. We should set off for the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds to train for your breakthrough to Heaven Master. Xia Jingyu slowly stood up, her expression calm and emotionless. It is time to prepare, but I need to make a trip to the northern continent first. What are you doing? Lord Qing Zhu creased his brows, realizing Xia Jingyu's motive. Xia Jingyu's calm expression was mixed with a rare killing intent. Doing what I hate the most, killing people, and killing a lot of people. Chapter 403. Lord Qing Zhu was a little disgusted. He did not want to hear Xia Jingyu's name again. There is no need. The latest news is that the North Continent's alliance, the Yu clan, has been destroyed. Lord Qing Zhu calmly said. Xia Jingyu raised her eyebrows. Who did it? Black Snow Devil King. One person and one bow. Massacring 1,000,000 miles from a northernmost snow listening tower to the southernmost 100 Territories alliance. Their blood dyed 1,000,000 miles of mountains and rivers. All the powers related to the North Continent's alliance have been destroyed. Xia Jingyu was slightly shocked. One person and one bow. What a powerful fighting ability. Yes, it is the Gue clan. Lord Qing Zhu also revealed a look of admiration. Gue clan? Xia Jingyu thought of Inyu. Lord Xinying's hand had been destroyed by Su Yu's evil ghost power. Lord Qing Zhu seemed to know what she was thinking. There's no need to guess. The Black Snow Devil King is not Inyu. We have compared them, and they are not the same person. Is that so? Xia Jingyu was inexplicably disappointed, but also expectant. For the first time, the dull Jinlong continent was filled with color and anticipation. Dark Forest, Yu Clan. The Ninth Saint Master looked down at the castle. It was deathly silent, with no signs of life. There was only a thick layer of black snow. An hour later, he was still in the Dark Forest, but he was now standing in the destroyed snow listening tower. After another hour, he appeared in the Phoenix Cabinet and the 100 Territories Alliance, one after another. They're all dead. The Ninth Saint Master's cold eyes were filled with coldness as he looked up to the sky and sighed. This sigh caused the mountains and rivers to crumble and the clouds to move. It was as if the heavens were showing their might. Black Snow Devil King, you must die. Creak! With a flash, the Ninth Saint Master disappeared without a trace. At the same time, the rumors of the Black Snow Devil King spread throughout the Jinlong continent. An unparalleled god of death who had swept through 1,000,000 miles of mountains and rivers. The newly formed North Continent Alliance had destroyed the Phoenix Cabinet, but it had been destroyed just as the wedding was about to become famous. The news spread far and wide, and it was even more shocking than the North Continent's Alliance's establishment. In an instant, the Black Snow Devil King had become a terrifying legend that everyone knew about. The Phoenix Cabinet and the North Continent's Alliance had been destroyed. The Pavilion Master, who was dressed in colorful clothes, raised her head and looked toward the sky. Her eyes were filled with bewilderment. Black Snow Devil King, could it be him? It's him. A calm voice floated over. Feng Xian stood in front of the house and knelt down. Why did you come back? The Pavilion Master looked over calmly. Feng Xian kowtowed. Face the past, face the future. The Cabinet Master was silent for a long time. Who changed you? You're no longer a virgin. It's him, Inyu. Master's virginity is also gone. Did you also give it to him? Feng Xian chuckled. This was the first time in her life that she had ever smiled from the bottom of her heart. It turned out that his master and he had the same man. The Pavilion Master's face was slightly red. She looked at Feng Xian and smiled bitterly. She sighed and said, You and me, master and disciple, were unable to escape his evil clutches. This is fate. Go. Yu Ling and the others are buried in the back mountain. Feng Xian stood up and walked toward the back of the mountain. My sins are grave, and I will guard the mausoleum for the rest of my life. I do not ask for their forgiveness, nor do I ask for my sins to be washed away. I only ask that I can be a clean woman for once in my lifetime and not be killed by that man. When the Cabinet Master heard this, he was moved. I am giving you a chance because of Inyu. Feng Xian smiled as she turned back. I know, because he is in your heart. The Cabinet Master looked at the clouds and the rebuilt Phoenix Cabinet. Her heart was filled with bitterness. Thank you, Inyu. When you were born, I was not born. When I was born, you were already old. This was the loneliest thing in life, in the boundless ocean, in a cave on a deserted island. So you took out the 10,000 soldier spiritual liquid and removed the Dragon Soul Coffin. The Dragon Soul Coffin was a broken divine artifact. Most of its spirituality had disappeared, and it did not need much 10,000 soldier spiritual liquid. So you poured in a drop, and the owner's imprint was completely erased, refined by him. With a thought, energy from all directions gathered within the dragon soul coffin. The powerful energy continuously nourished Ling Xiaotian, who was within the coffin. His shriveled body recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, and he regained his handsome appearance. Great! Suyu heaved a sigh of relief. The self-blame and guilt he had suppressed dissipated. But Suyu's expression gradually turned rigid. After the energy disappeared, Ling Xiaotian returned to his shriveled body. What happened? Why did this happen? Suyu was extremely shocked. Suddenly, the long-awaited voice of Yun Yazi came from his chest. He took the initiative to give up his flesh and blood to heal you. Do you want to reverse the situation? How could it be so easy? Suyu looked as if he had found his savior, anxiously saying, Master, you are finally awake. Please tell me how to save him. I owe him my life. If he dies, I will never be able to rest easy. Yun Yazi sighed. I am worried because I know your character. There's only one way to save him. Absorb the power from beyond the heavens. But there is no power from beyond the heavens in the Zhenlong continent. Suyu's eyes were filled with hope. Then, where is the power from beyond the heavens? When you break through to the fairy realm, the power from beyond the heavens will descend. This is your only chance. The last bit of hope in Suyu's eyes was gradually extinguished. Ascending to the fairy realm. The end of the immortal realm was the fairy realm. It was the legendary realm of deities. Suyu found it difficult to break through to the Heaven Master level, much less the fairy realm. Most importantly, Ling Xiaotian only had 3 months to live. 1 month had already passed, and there were only 2 months left. How is it possible to break through to the fairy realm in 2 whole months? You do not need to be discouraged. The Zhenlong continent is about to undergo a huge change. Great chaos brings great opportunities. You might have a chance to break through to the fairy realm. Hearing this, Suyu's spirits were lifted. Yin Yazi's words were never empty words. I will use my life to break through to the fairy realm to repay Ling Xiaotian's kindness. Keeping his emotions in check, Suyu flipped through the other treasures. Fire element mythical fragment. Suyu pondered for a long time. With a thought, he summoned the second-grade clone. His main body specialized in ice and was not suited for fire. Coincidentally, his clone did not have a suitable technique. This fragment of a legendary artifact was perfect. Next was the Wan clan's short-distance wings. It was the treasure of the Wan clan. In terms of grade, it was a top-notch middle-grade divine artifact. It could travel 10,000 miles in an instant, traversing across the northern continent in just a few hours. Filled with anticipation, Suyu refined it into his body. Next was the Death Horn. It could summon the spirits of the world and was suitable for people with death energy. What shocked Suyu the most was that this was a high-grade divine artifact. There were only 5 high-grade divine artifacts on the continent. Its power was unimaginable to Suyu. The only pity was that it was not suitable for him to use. But it was suitable for Siener, the Phoenix of Death Constitution. In this world, was there anything more suitable for Siener? Finally was the token of the Dragon Abyss of the 9 underworlds. An opportunity to break through to Heaven Master. Suyu held the token of the Dragon Abyss in his hand, his eyes filled with determination. Heaven Master, Suyu am coming. Whoosh! Suyu turned into a shadow, charging deep into the sea. In the other 2 directions, Qin Siener and Xia Jingyu also charged deep into the sea. Chapter 404. Amidst the boundless sea of clouds, a lone island was like a green pearl embedded in the azure sea. The island was lush with green, and demonic beasts roamed freely. A deep ravine ran through the north and south of the island. The ravine was extremely deep, with no end in sight. It was as if it could swallow one's gaze. A primordial aura assaulted one's senses. It was an ancient island with a deep and mysterious ravine. A red-haired figure pierced through the clouds, a pair of feathery wings 10,000 feet long on his back. With a flap of the wings, he traveled 10,000 miles in an instant. He was Suyu, who had been traveling for several days straight. Landing on the island, above the ravine, Yu held the token of the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds, his eyes filled with doubt. Is the so-called dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds referring to the bottomless abyss below? Yu had a doubtful expression as he slowly opened his soul eyes calmly looking down. 10,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 100,000 feet, 100,000 miles, but he still had not reached the bottom. What kind of ravine was this? Jiang Baiyu was astonished. Suddenly, Jiang Baiyu's shoulder sank abruptly as a shriveled and aged palm silently rested on his shoulder. Jiang Baiyu's body trembled. He froze on the spot, his pupils dilating to the size of needles. There was someone behind him. How was that possible? Before using his soul eyes, he had already seen through the entire island. Apart from a few demonic beasts that did not pose much of a threat, there were no signs of any living beings. Even if he had missed them, he had been paying attention to every movement around him while in the state of his soul eyes. But someone had actually passed through the detection of his soul eyes and appeared behind him. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Suppressing the panic in his heart, Yu calmly said, "Elder, is something the matter?" As he spoke, he slowly turned his head. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a disheveled old man, his face reeking of alcohol, smiling foolishly as he looked at Yu. "Ha! Little brother, you stole my wine, right?" "Stole wine?" Yu lightly shook his head, calmly turning around. "No." The sloppy old man moved closer, his nose sniffing Yu's body, muttering in disappointment, "No, really no. Could it be that little beast?" Whoosh! At that moment, a figure of light suddenly took on a human form. It was the demigod realm's 1,000-mile doppelganger technique. "Old man, you've come out to cause trouble again." The veins on the figure's forehead throbbed as he cursed and kicked the sloppy old man's buttocks. The sloppy old Taoist stumbled and fell to the ground. His head hit a huge rock. Poochie, the sloppy old Taoist's head was not injured at all. Instead, the boulder turned into nothingness on the spot. Yes, nothingness. It wasn't crushed, it wasn't dust, it was nothingness. This scene caused Yu's pupils to contract fiercely and his heart to palpitate. What a terrifying body. When Yu recalled that his shoulder had been touched by the old man's palm, he felt a lingering fear. That palm could have turned him into a pile of ashes. "Old thing, is it easy to be your disciple? I'll clean up your mess all day long." The glowing youth chattered incessantly as he supported the sloppy old Taoist priest on his shoulders. "Damn it, I, your father, am so unlucky to have a master like you." Jiang Baiyu was dumbfounded. That figure of light was actually the slovenly old Taoist disciple. However, if his disciples were all at the demigod realm, then his master, fairy realm. Yu secretly gasped. This sloppy old Taoist priest was actually a strong martial artist of the fairy realm. "Brother, I'm sorry. This old man has scared you. Sorry for disturbing you." The glowing figure apologized to Yu, supporting the sloppy old Taoist priest as they prepared to leave. "Wait." Yu took out the token of the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds. "Brother, may I ask how I can use this token?" The other party looked up and stared at it. "Damn it, those bastards of the Heavenly Law Alliance are recklessly giving out this stupid token again." The glowing figure seemed to be extremely furious. He casually threw the sloppy, old Taoist priest away. Yes, casually threw him away. Thump! The sloppy old Taoist priest fell to the ground, rolling down the narrow hill like a meatball. His momentum did not decrease, and he continued to roll down the hill. Thump! 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 His shriveled body stumbled along the way, crashing into trees and rocks. Jiang Baiyu's eyelids twitched. "Don't worry, that old thing has thick skin." The glowing figure curled his lips. He did not even turn his head, allowing his master to roll down the hill and into the trench. In the sea, the sloppy old Taoist priest was not injured in the slightest. He was hugging a large rock, laughing drunkenly. I've caught him. Why, my wine. This strange pair of master and disciple." "Brother, what is your name?" the glowing figure asked casually. Yu rubbed his nose. "How should I address you?" Why did you appear on the island with that elder? The glowing figure had a sudden realization, rubbing the back of his head in embarrassment. Ha ha, look at me. I am Gang Daily Eye. I live on the island with my master, guarding the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds. Guarding the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds? So he was slightly surprised. I am Black Snow Devil King. Nice to meet you, brother. Suyu revealed a faint smile. Gang Daily Eye opened his eyes wide. What? Black Snow Devil King? You believe in black snow? Damn it, no wonder I cannot come up with a good name. So you were the one who gave me a good name. Suyu's mouth twitched. Most people would understand that Black Snow Devil King was just a title and not a real name. Black Snow Devil King, Black Snow Devil King. Yes. This name is good. I like it. Gang Daily Eye patted Suyu's shoulder, his eyes glowing. I like people with good names. I recognize you as my friend. In the future, you'll be my brother. Suyu's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. This person was really strange. However, even though this person was a bit crude, he was a straightforward and magnanimous person. Suyu had a good impression of him. I'm indebted to Brother Daily Eye for thinking so highly of me. You could just call me Black Snow. Gang Daily Eye laughed. Haha, Brother Black Snow. In the future, if anyone makes things difficult for you, look for me. I will help you settle it. If I cannot, there's still my old master. There is nothing in the world that he cannot settle. All right, I shall not disturb Brother Black Snow's fun. Oh, right. Gang Daily Eye slapped his head. Look at me, I almost forgot. Whoosh, Gang Daily Eye's body was like lightning, bringing Suyu to the foot of the island. There was an underground cave there, and a gust of warm energy was blowing out of the cave. Before entering the dragon abyss, enter this cave and wash yourself. That way, you'll feel more comfortable in the dragon abyss. So you did not understand. Brother Daily Eye, this is... Gang Daily Eye said, hey, isn't this the dragon breath of the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds? In the deepest part of the dragon abyss, there is a demonic dragon suppressed. The entire dragon abyss is filled with gas. If an ordinary person enters, the dragon breath will easily seep into their body. Their stamina and spirit energy will be polluted. If you barge in recklessly, you will be choked back in half a day. Even a half-god could not avoid it. A demonic dragon needed a fairy realm fighter to guard it. What kind of terrifying cultivation level was that demonic dragon? This is the lair of a half-god demonic beast emperor. I roasted it and ate it. There's an earth vein hidden inside. After absorbing it, it will be beneficial to your body. Moreover, it could defend against the invasion of demonic energy from the outside. It can help you counteract the dragon breath of the demonic dragon. In the past, I used up half of the pool. There is still half left. You can have it. You do not need to be polite with me. The veins on Suyu's forehead twitched. A half-god demonic beast emperor had actually been roasted and eaten by this guy. But now is not the time to be surprised. There was a so-called dragon breath in the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds. Long Feiyu had never mentioned this before. Suyu was glad that he knew Gang Daily Eye, even though the reason he had been treated as a friend was too strange. After thanking Gang Daily Eye, Suyu entered the cave. The cave was not deep, but there was a powerful demonic beast emperor aura. At the end of the cave was a pool of blood-red water, quietly lying there. The warm energy it emitted made one's body feel extremely comfortable. So you took a light breath. At that moment, an extremely pure and warm energy entered his body. Thump, thump. Suyu was shocked to discover that after the icy heart core entered the warm energy, it became even stronger, pulsating vigorously. Every part of his body felt as if it had been injected with chicken blood, squirming continuously. And this was just a breath of air. The so-called earth vein. What exactly was this thing? What a frightening effect. Gang Daily Eye had casually mentioned it, and Suyu had not thought much of it. Who knew that it was such a frightening existence? Out of caution, Suyu used his pinky to poke a drop into his mouth. At that moment, Suyu's expression changed. It was clearly a warm liquid, but once it entered Suyu's body, it was like an endless raging flame, burning crazily. A burning sensation spread rapidly within his body. A crisis of imminent destruction descended upon him. Not good. He had been too careless. From Gang Daily's point of view, something that was not even a drop could be fatal to the current Suyu. Suyu was anxious, but he forced himself to remain calm, thinking of a countermeasure. Suddenly, Suyu took out a jade box with a flip of his palm. It was an immortal herb that was completely ice-cold, and it exuded a fatal chill. Back then, when Suyu had swallowed a root the size of a strand of hair, he had nearly frozen to death. Since then, Suyu had not reached the level where he could refine it, and had kept it in his robes. Now, at this critical juncture, the only way Suyu could think of to save himself was this. Taking out the ice divine herb, Suyu plucked a root and placed it in his mouth. At that moment, a shocking cold energy entered his body, quickly freezing the raging flames in his body. Whoosh! Suyu released himself from the intense pain and heaved a long sigh. However, right after that, Suyu's face stiffened. The chilly energy was too strong. After suppressing the flames, it started to destroy Suyu's life force, turning his stomach into ice. How could this be? Suyu wanted to cry, but had no tears. The energy of the cold, ice divine herb was too strong, to the extent that Suyu could not control how much he used it. If he used too much, the cold energy would harm his body. No, you can't do this. Suyu hurriedly took out a drop of earth vein spiritual liquid, using the fire energy to neutralize the remaining cold energy in his abdomen. However, the power of the flames was too much, and Suyu had no choice but to continue consuming the divine herbs. As the cycle continued, Suyu's face darkened. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Just like that, Suyu experienced both pain and happiness, constantly mingling between the two worlds of ice and fire. One moment, his body was in extreme coldness, and the next moment, it was as if he was in a world-destroying flame. His body was constantly being cleansed by two extreme forces. An entire day passed. Over 90% of the spirit liquid in the pool had been forcefully drunk by Jiang Baiyu. A large portion of the immortal herb in his hand had also been eaten by Jiang Baiyu, leaving only 2 leaves. As for Suyu himself, he lay on the ground weakly, extremely exhausted. After a whole day and night of torture, Suyu was finally saved. Under the tempering of the two extreme forces, his body gradually changed, gradually adapting to the two extreme forces. Hence, the excessive power of the earth vein and the cold energy were no longer able to affect Suyu's body. Suyu heaved a long sigh of relief. Using his right hand to support himself on the ground, Suyu tried to stand up. Creak! However, a scene that shocked Suyu appeared. The stone surface beneath his palm had turned into ashes. Moreover, a small portion of it had turned into nothingness, just like the sloppy man. Suyu was shocked. He clenched his fists, casually clenching them. At once, a raging wave of energy exploded from his fists. Chapter 405. In just one day, his physical body had reached the level of a human king. This unexpected surprise made Suyu overjoyed. This meant that even if he were to face a human king, it would be extremely difficult for the other party to easily kill him. In fact, he still had the ability to retaliate. He believed that if he met Lord Shining again, it would be impossible for him to subdue him as easily as he did in the past. With such a physical body, the chances of Suyu returning alive from the Dragon Abyss were much higher. This was an extremely beneficial condition for him to break through to Heaven Master. It was also an opportunity for him to break through to the fairy realm. At that moment, in the sky above the island, 2 figures descended from the sky. One was handsome and confident. He held a folding fan in his hand, looking very elegant. His sovereign personage strength added to his charm. Whoosh! Long Feiyu. Beside Long Feiyu was an exquisite, petite, and adorable girl. Her eyes were big, like 2 embedded gems. She had a small nose that was perky and cute. Her rosy lips were exceptionally alluring. Her skin was fair and soft, like a newborn baby's. Her entire person was like a beautiful porcelain doll, extremely cute. Sinner, don't be nervous. I'm here. Long Feiyu had a pleasant expression, his face full of smiles. The petite girl was the Sienner that Suyu had not seen in a long time. Hearing this, Sienner creased her nose, raising her brows. You did not have to come. Originally, the undead Phoenix Master had wanted to arrange for a female disciple, but Long Feiyu had insisted on escorting her. The undead Phoenix Master could not embarrass Long Feiyu, so she had no choice but to agree. Long Feiyu's smile was the same as before. Sister Sienner, don't worry. I have been to the Dragon Abyss once, and am familiar with the situation. I can help you obtain more Dragon Abyss fruits to break through to Heaven Master. Sienner glared, her face serious. I'm not familiar with you. Don't call me Sienner, and don't call me sister. Saying this, she muttered, You haven't even called me Brother Suyu. Long Feiyu was a little embarrassed, hurriedly laughing. Wait a moment, I will bring you to a place. There's an earth vein there. After absorbing it, it will be very beneficial for your movements in the Dragon Abyss. This is a secret that only I, a member of the Heavenly Law Alliance, know. I will not tell anyone else. Sien was a little curious. She asked in a childish voice, Since that's the case, why didn't you take all of him away? Why did you leave a part of him here? Aren't you afraid that someone will take it all away? Long Feiyu was embarrassed. Although Qin Sienner looked petite and playful at times, she was not stupid. In fact, she was very quick-witted. Haha, you misunderstand. All the items on this island belong to the seniors guarding the Dragon Abyss. Because of my identity as a member of the Heavenly Law Alliance, those seniors only gave me 1 drop, and the effect was very good. This time, I will ask for 2 more drops. I believe that he will give me face. Sien couldn't refute this. Long Feiyu's father was one of the Heavenly Law Union's 4 half-gods. There were not many people in the continent who would not give him face. Shua, the 2 of them landed on the island and arrived at the entrance of the cave. Waves of warm energy assaulted them. Sienner, wait here. I'll be right back. Long Feiyu was about to move when a figure suddenly walked out of the cave. Long Feiyu's expression changed. There were only 2 types of people who could stay in the Dragon Abyss. The first type was a trial taker. The second type, guardians. And there was only 1 type of person who knew of the existence of the cave. Senior, I trust you have been well, so you stored the rest of the spiritual liquid, not leaving a single drop behind. He was just about to walk out when someone called him Senior. So he was slightly stunned. Looking at the person, he realized that it was Long Feiyu. Yes, I trust you have been well, Long Feiyu, Suyu calmly said. Hearing that the voice and tone were not right, Long Feiyu lifted his head abruptly, his expression changing. It's you, Black Snow Devil King? Thinking back to how he had addressed Suyu as senior and bowed, Long Feiyu's expression turned green. What are you doing here? Do I need to report what I do to you? Suyu said with disdain, brushing past him. A whiff of warm, fragrant energy spread from Suyu's body. Long Feiyu's expression changed drastically. Wait, you dare steal the spiritual liquid of the Earth Meridian? How dare you? Suyu turned a deaf ear. It was as if he had been struck by lightning. He stood rooted to the ground, staring at the girl in front of him without blinking. Her facial features were exquisite and cute, like a fairy from the mountains. She had a pair of large eyes that could speak, glowing with a pure and intelligent light. Her body was petite and exquisite, like a fairy that would never grow up. Wasn't she the girl that Suyu thought about every night, his fiancée, Qin Sienna? Compared to a year ago, Sienna had grown a little taller, her body had developed a little, and her youthful face had the youthfulness of a young girl. But this was the Sienna that he could never forget, the Sienna that he had been chasing. Even though his eyes were closed, his soul eyes could no longer move away from Sienna. He had unexpectedly met her on a day that he had never looked forward to. This joy, this surprise, this excitement could not be described with words. Sienna blinked her large eyes, looking curiously at the motionless figure in front of her. For some reason, seeing the red-haired bronze figure in front of her made Sienna's heart tremble. She felt a lump in her throat. In that instant, she felt as if she had seen Brother Suyu. Meeting his tightly shut eyes, Sienna walked forward, tiptoed, and waved her small hand in front of his eyes. "Can't your eyes see?" Suyu's voice was hoarse, and he said in a daze, "I'm already blind." Sienna retracted her hand, looking at Suyu. Her large, bright eyes were filled with sympathy. "You must be feeling terrible, unable to see the sun, unable to see the blue sky, and unable to see the person you love and respect." Suyu's closed eyes were a little moist. She was still so innocent, so kind, and so heart-wrenching. "I still have a heart." Suyu's voice was a little choked, and he resisted the urge to hug her and reunite with her. Reason told Suyu that he could not abandon his identity as the Black Snow Devil King. He wanted to use this identity to establish himself in the Jinlong continent and break through to the fairy realm. Once it was revealed that he was Suyu and Inyu, what awaited him would be the Empire of Darkness's relentless pursuit. His revenge for Ling Xiaotian and the chance to save him would all be lost. Sienna's heart was moved. She lifted her head to look at Suyu. She saw that the corners of his eyes were moist, and she could feel the sorrow in his heart. "Don't be sad. I believe that the person you love and respect can feel your heart." Sienna took out a handkerchief, tiptoed, and wiped away the tears at the corners of Suyu's eyes. Long Feiyu stood at the side, his expression as gloomy as water. Qin Sienna, who had treated him coldly, was actually so warm and intimate with a stranger. "Sienna, leave him. His hands are stained with the blood of countless people. His name is forged from blood." Qin Sienna's gaze could not leave Suyu's eyes. Her right hand clutched her chest, her bright eyes filled with doubt and sorrow. For some reason, Qin Sienna's chest ached when she looked at the Black Snow Devil King. Hearing Long Feiyu's words, Qin Sienna looked up at Suyu, muttering, "A person with a heart is not an evil person." Long Feiyu was furious, his eyes shooting cold arrows towards Suyu. "Black Snow Devil King, you killed the innocent and stole the treasures of others. You even dared to steal an elder's item in the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds. Today I will enforce justice on behalf of heaven." Whoosh! Long Feiyu's murderous intent was biting cold, leaving behind a trail of afterimages. But, thump! A beam of light descended from the sky, accurately striking the afterimage. At once, with a pathetic cry, Long Feiyu was kicked into the mountain, creating a tunnel hundreds of feet deep. "Darn it! You dare attack in my territory? If I do not shatter your 18 ribs, I will not live up to my famous name." The beam of light was Gang Dalei. Pooh! In the tunnel, Long Feiyu, his clothes torn and battered, coughed up blood as he crawled out, his face filled with shock. Not only did he not feel any resentment, he even hurriedly ran over, bowing respectfully. "Greetings, Elder Gang." The half-god realm was a realm that Long Feiyu had not reached, even after working hard for a long time. Gang Dalei observed, realizing that the person in front of him was someone from the Heavenly Law Alliance who looked familiar. "So, it's a birdman from the Heavenly Law Alliance." Long Feiyu had a wronged expression. "Elder Gang, this fellow stole your spiritual liquid secretly. After I discovered it, I immediately stopped him. But Elder Gang misunderstood." Facing Gang Dalei, Long Feiyu did not dare complain after being beaten. Instead, he smiled apologetically. This caused Sienna to crease her brows. Unexpectedly, Gang Dalei let out a laugh. "What kind of birdman are you? Are you worthy of meddling in my business?" Long Feiyu's face turned red, and he smiled apologetically. "Elder, I really did not mean to attack you. This is a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding my foot." Gang Dalei placed one hand on his waist, pointed at Long Feiyu's nose, and scolded him. "I was the one who allowed my brother Black Snow to use the spiritual liquid as he pleased. Since when was it up to a birdman like you to meddle in my business? You still want to attack me? Count yourself lucky that I did not kick you to death just now. You still dare to complain? Brother Black Snow, brother." Long Feiyu froze on the spot. The Black Snow Devil King was actually brothers with the half-god Gang Dalei? How? How is this possible? With Gang Dalei's explosive temper, who could be his brother? I'm sorry, Elder Gang. I was rash. Please forgive me. Gang Daily Eyes snorted. Then why aren't you scramming? Long Feiyu's expression was a little stiff. Elder Gang, this time, I was ordered by my father and the undead Phoenix Master to bring Qin Siener for training. Can I take 2 drops of spiritual liquid to guard against the dragon breath? Gang Daily Eye opened his mouth to scold him, but the words turned into dissatisfaction. Who is your father? What does he have to do with me? Do I, Gang Daily Eye, need to give him face? As for the undead Phoenix Master, on account of the friendship between my old man and her, you may go. Long Feiyu's face twitched. He was furious, but he had no choice but to lower his head. He turned to enter the cave, but what he saw in the pond made him dumbfounded. All the spiritual liquid was gone. Not only that, even the mud at the bottom of the pond had been dug away. Suyu had not even left a lump of mud for him. But what made Long Feiyu even more furious was that when he came out, the Black Snow Devil King had casually stuffed a small jade bottle into Qin Siener's hands. Keep it for yourself, Suyu warned, subconsciously rubbing her head. Also use this cold leaf. Remember not to be greedy. Do you hear me? Siener's body turned rigid, and she stood in her original position. Only one person would do such a thing to her. Looking at the Black Snow Devil King, Siener felt as if she was facing Suyu. She could not help but nod her head. I would not secretly eat it, I would not, but a trace of mist flashed across her big bright eyes. Realizing that she had lost her composure, Siener hurriedly lowered her head, jogging away. Thank you, she said without turning her head. In the wind, Suyu could faintly hear her sobs. Suyu's heart ached. They had met, but he had not acknowledged her. I'm sorry, Siener. When I have my revenge, or when there's no one around, I will acknowledge you. Clenching his fists, Suyu took to the sky, once again stepping into the sky above the endless abyss. Chapter 406. Above the abyss, Suyu, Siener, and Long Feiyu waited with rapt attention. Gang Daily Eye's voice was as loud as a bell. The dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds has been sealed. If you want to pass through the seal and enter, there is only one way. That is to use the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds token in your hands and activate it with your blood essence. It will produce the power of space and teleport you inside. The dragon abyss fruits required to break through to Heaven Master are mainly found in the Messy Rocks ruins. I suggest that you don't leave this area, or you won't be able to return. Gang Daily Eye was naturally referring to Long Feiyu. It was rumored that less than 1 in 100 people could survive the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds. Most of them didn't listen to the advice and left the rubble ruins. They entered the dangerous area and met with mishaps. Long Feiyu's expression was calm. As confident as he was, he did not dare to take Gang Daily Eye's warning lightly. Elder Gang, with my abilities, I can only protect one person. There is no other way. Long Feiyu shot a glance at Suyu. To prevent Gang Daily Eye from forcing him to take care of Suyu, he had tactfully declined the offer. Suyu didn't even turn his head. Take care of yourself first. With Suyu's abilities, as long as he didn't encounter any perverted dangers, he wouldn't be in any danger. On the other hand, he did not know if Sien-Er's Phoenix of Death body would be able to deal with the dangers in the deep abyss. Humph, do you need to worry about my brother? Both of you leave first. Gang Daily Eye waved his hands, leaving Suyu behind. After the two of them left, Gang Daily Eye mysteriously took out a map and stuffed it into Suyu's palm. Brother Black Snow, I can only help you this much. I wish you good luck. As soon as he finished speaking, the silhouette dissipated. Suyu looked down and saw that it was a full picture of the abyss. The Messy Rocks ruins and the Banished Abyss. Suyu discovered an extremely vast region on the map. On the map, the rubble ruins only occupied less than 1/10 of the area. However, there was an area called the Banished Abyss that was 9 times the size of the rubble ruins. From the looks of it, the so-called trial in the Dragon Abyss of the 9 underworlds was just a trial in a corner of the abyss. It couldn't even be considered as entering the abyss. What is this? So you suddenly noticed a blood-red mark at the corner of the map. Dragon Lockwell. On the map, this place was only a very small dot, not even 1/10,000th of the abyss. However, it was located in the center of the map and seemed to have a very special meaning. With this map in hand, Suyu would not be so unfamiliar with his current location. As Suyu thanked her in his heart, he activated the token of the Dragon Abyss of the 9 underworlds and entered it. As soon as he entered, an astonishing turbid air assaulted his senses. An evil and corrosive energy seeped into Suyu's body. The dragon breath of the demon dragon. Suyu was slightly vigilant. Only when a gust of warm energy automatically dissolved the dragon breath that had entered his body did he feel slightly relieved. Even so, the amount of dragon breath that the earth vein spirit liquid can absorb is limited. I must leave within 3 days. Looking down, the abyss was unfathomably deep, like a bottomless pit. With vigilance, Suyu carefully descended. Above the abyss, whoosh, they were a man and a woman. One was wearing a black cloak and had an elegant temperament. The other was wearing a red cloak and looked like an immortal from painting. Ew, this is the Dragon Abyss. There is an evil energy inside that corrodes one's spiritual energy and stamina. We only have 1 day. Lord Qingzhu said, how many Dragon Abyss fruits we can find in a day is our good fortune. Xia Jingyu nodded slightly. I understand. With a flash of light, 2 figures fell into it. 2 hours later, Suyu did not know how deep into the abyss he had entered. He only felt that the deeper he went, the darker it became. Luckily, the see-through ability of his soul eyes did not pose much of an obstacle. The ground. Suyu penetrated through the clouds, suddenly sensing the existence of the ground. When he saw the ground clearly, Suyu's pupils dilated. This is being high up, Suyu could clearly see an area. Beneath his feet, there was a 1,000-mile-long claw mark. Suyu was shocked. 1,000-mile long? What kind of peerless, ferocious creature's claw mark was this? At the very bottom was a stretch of ruins. It was as if this place had once been a flourishing place that no one knew about, but had been destroyed by a ferocious creature. It was similar to the giant palm, but those were humans, while the one in front of him was an unknown creature. Filled with bewilderment, Suyu floated above the ruins and looked around. The ruins were stacked together, and everything within a 100,000-mile radius was filled with rubble. All of a sudden, Suyu's sharp eyes noticed that there was a small shrub growing on top of a collapsed building. It was dark black, and it looked very strange, but there was a purple fruit hanging on the branch. It was shaped like a dragon, extremely lifelike and lifelike. Could this be a Dragon Abyss fruit? Suyu could not believe his luck. He had just ascended and found a Dragon Abyss fruit. But without waiting for Suyu to act, a blurry figure pounced forward, using a pair of jade scissors to cut off the fruit, placing it in a jade box. Long Feiyu. Suyu creased his brows. They had descended from the same spot, and hence were in the same area. Sienna, I found it. Long Feiyu was a little happy. Sienna's luck is very good. Back then, a group of 10 of us spent half a day to find the first Dragon Abyss fruit. You found one right after descending. Sienna walked over, opening it to take a look. She raised her brows. Why is there only half left? Upon closer inspection, she realized that the Dragon Abyss fruit seemed to have been eaten by something. Only half was left. Long Feiyu chuckled and said, the Dragon Abyss fruit is also an extremely rare spiritual fruit of the world for the creatures in the Dragon Abyss. It is very difficult to find a fragment. In the past, 9 out of 10 Dragon Abyss fruits found were incomplete. So that was the case. Sienna understood, then carefully placed the fruit into her left pocket. Suyu felt that it was a pity that someone had gotten it before him. But Suyu did not resent Sienna for it. At this moment, Long Feiyu could faintly sense that there was a human on the other side of the darkness. Black Snow Devil King? Realizing that it was him, Long Feiyu laughed. It is a pity that Elder Gang, as a guard, could not come with you. With no one to help you, I want to see how many you can find. With his familiarity and understanding of the messy rocks ruins, Long Feiyu could naturally suppress Suyu in this aspect. Suyu did not reply, but slowly opened his soul eyes. The complicated and messy rocks ruins appeared three-dimensional in Suyu's eyes. Suddenly, Suyu's pupils dilated. He drifted to the ruins where Long Feiyu and Sienna were standing. This place had once been a collapsed palace. The only dragon abyss fruit that had grown had already been plucked. You have not given up? Long Feiyu was shocked. He swept his gaze across the shrubs again, confirming that there was no second fruit. He mocked. If there was, would it be your turn to snatch it? But Suyu continued to fly. But he did not land on the top of the palace. Instead, he entered a crevice formed by the collapse of the palace. Long Feiyu's gaze flickered. He floated down and looked in the direction that Suyu had come from. His pupils dilated as he discovered that, in the deepest part of the crevice, there was a shrub that was half the height of a person. There were 2 dragon-shaped fruits hanging on it. Furthermore, they were in their most complete state. Looks like my luck is not bad. Long Feiyu's eyes were filled with excitement. But a pair of 10,000 zhong wings suddenly appeared on Suyu's back. With a flap, Suyu shot into the deepest part of the crevice like an arrow released from a bow. Stop! Long Feiyu roared furiously. If you touch it without a divine artifact, it will only turn this spiritual fruit into ashes. But his voice stopped abruptly, because Suyu had immediately taken out a small, broken jade shovel. He had scooped up the entire shrub along with the fruits. The broken divine artifact that he had obtained in the ancient Xianyun temple, the Cosmos Jade Shovel, had finally been put to use. The corners of Long Feiyu's mouth twitched. What a waste of a treasure! His eyes were gloomy and filled with murderous intents. Not only had Suyu disobeyed his warning and refined the short-distance wings that had been part of his congratulatory gift, he had also dared to snatch his item in front of everyone. In the past, Long Feiyu would have killed Suyu and turned him into ashes. But this was Gang Daily's territory. He could not act rashly. Suyu turned and calmly ordered, "Move aside." The muscles in Long Feiyu's cheeks twitched, and he slowly moved aside. Suyu expressionlessly brushed past Long Feiyu, flying up to the palace and arriving in front of Xian'er. "One for you." Xian'er was overwhelmed by the favor. For me, she knew how precious the Dragon Abyss fruit was. The Black Snow King had obtained 2 of them, but he had gifted one to her. Chapter 407. Biting her lips, Xian'er cut off a fruit and carefully placed it in the jade box. "Brother Black Snow, my name is Qin Xian'er. I want the Dragon Abyss fruit. It has an important use, so I'm sorry, but I will accept it. I will definitely repay you in the future." Xian'er clenched her small fists, her expression determined and serious. Suyu smiled lovingly. "Sure, I'll wait." Xian'er let out a huge and adorable smile, then placed the jade box in her right pocket. Suyu asked, "Why don't you put the 2 Dragon Abyss fruits together?" Xian'er raised her head and said mysteriously, "It's a secret." Long Feiyu saw this scene, his expression ugly. He was the one who had helped Xian'er break through to Heaven Master, but Suyu had beaten him to it. Black Snow Devil King, the Dragon Abyss fruit is not so easy to find. Your luck will not always be good. Xian'er, let's go. Qin Xian'er playfully stuck out her tongue at Suyu. "Goodbye, Brother Black Snow." Waving his hands, Suyu watched as the 2 of them left, then disappeared into the fog. Using his soul eyes, Suyu searched 100 miles around him. 2 hours passed, but he had not found another fruit. It looked like they were extremely lucky to have found one the moment they descended. Suddenly, Suyu discovered a Dragon Abyss fruit growing from a crack in the stone wall in front of him. Suyu was about to go forward when a red figure flew toward him. She had a graceful figure and an elegant demeanor. Even though her face was covered by a layer of mist that even the soul eyes could not see through, she was definitely a beautiful lady. The lady had a joyous expression as she reached out to grab the Dragon Abyss fruit. But at that moment, Suyu's expression changed. "Stop!" Suyu let out a low grunt, his body piercing through the air, heading straight for the other party. The lady had not been on guard against the person behind her, and the other party was attacking her. Instinctively, she formed a water sword in her empty left hand and used it to kill the person attacking her. The water sword was clearly a hasty attack, but its power was as great as that of a Heaven Master. Suyu was shocked. An Immortal Realm Level 4 peak could casually unleash such a powerful attack. It was incredible. Apart from the person in front of him, This was the first time he had met someone who could rival a heaven master at the immortal level 4 realm. However, it was as if Suyu did not care about it at all, and he tried to grab his opponent's arm. The woman furiously drew her sword and slashed at his chest. Bang! Although the water sword struck, the palm did not feel the sensation it should have felt. Instead, the water sword shattered. What a powerful body! The woman's pupils constricted and her heart sank. Oh no! Seizing the opportunity, Suyu grabbed her arm with one hand and pulled her toward his chest abruptly. The force was very strong and the speed was very fast. The woman's hand that was about to touch the Dragon Abyss fruit was forcefully pushed away. Her delicate body crashed into Suyu's embrace. The woman was embarrassed and angry at the same time. Chi. However, a slight explosion resounded in his ears. Wisps of nauseating gas drifted over. Looking back, he saw a black and ferocious-looking little bug crawling out from the crack in the stone. A stream of air gushed out from the other party's pores and instantly melted the rock. The Dragon Abyss fruit was not spared. It turned into rotten meat and withered. This scene caused the woman to be at a loss. Suddenly, he grabbed her chest and pulled away, calmly saying, "This place is dangerous. Do not be careless." The woman's face turned red. The other party was not greedy for the Dragon Abyss fruit, nor was he trying to harm her. He had sensed danger and was trying to save her. Regaining her senses, the woman quickly caught up. Her tone was hurried and apologetic. "How's your chest?" Suyu rubbed his chest and shook his head. "I'm fine. Apart from a little pain, it was not a big deal." The body of a human king was indeed frightening. Suyu finally understood how insignificant a heaven master was in front of a human king. He also finally understood how lucky he was to be able to escape from Lord Shining. The woman looked carefully. Indeed, it had only torn her clothes and was not a big deal. Just as she was heaving a sigh of relief, a figure flew over from the side. He wore a black cloak and was extremely elegant. "Yu, what happened?" Lord Qingzhu was searching for the Dragon Abyss fruit on the other side and was attracted by the commotion. Xia Jingyu replied, "A very powerful poisonous insect. It was he who saved me." "Him?" Lord Qingzhu sized up Suyu, standing in front of Xia Jingyu. He cupped his fists. "I am Lord Qingzhu of the Empire of Darkness. This is Lord Yu. May I know your name?" It was suspicious to meet a stranger in the dangerous land of the Dragon Abyss. "Yu." Suyu's heart shook. Xia Jingyu had been recommended to the Empire of Darkness to participate in the selection of Lord Yu. The person in front of him was Yu. Suyu stared at Lord Yu in shock. From her figure, she was a far cry from the Xia Jingyu of 3 years ago. At that time, Xia Jingyu had only been 14 years old. The person in front of him was a young lady of 17. Even though they were the same person, the difference was huge. But with a human king of the empire by his side, how could Suyu take the initiative to ask? Exposing Suyu's identity would be disastrous. "Black Snow Devil King," Suyu replied. "Is there anything else? If not, farewell." Suppressing the urge to question Xia Jingyu, Suyu decisively chose to leave. "Wait, you are the Black Snow Devil King?" Xia Jingyu and Lord Qingzhu were both shocked. The rumored Black Snow Devil King, who had massacred millions of miles of mountains and rivers? Xia Jingyu sized him up. His eyes were blind, but his senses were sharper than a normal person's. He had chased the Yu clan's young master for millions of miles without losing him. Thinking of his abilities as an immortal realm level 4 peak, the reason he had come here was obvious. "Come with us. As you said, the Dragon Abyss is dangerous. It would be good to take care of each other," Xia Jingyu said, inviting Suyu with goodwill. Suyu froze. He had a bad impression of the 7 Lords of Darkness because of the incident with Ling Xiaotian. He did not expect Lord Yu to be someone who knew how to repay kindness. But before he could reject, Lord Qingzhu raised his brows, taking out a broken Dragon Abyss fruit. "So, it is the Black Snow Devil King who saved Yu. I have no way to repay you. Take this Dragon Abyss fruit as my thanks." Throwing it over, Lord Qingzhu took a step back. "Yu, let's go. The Black Snow Devil King has his own way of surviving. Our worries are unnecessary." Although he said this, he secretly sent a message. You are still inexperienced and do not understand the dangers of the world. This black snow devil king has massacred mountains and rivers. He is murderous and cannot be trusted. Aren't you asking for trouble by inviting him into the team? In his heart, Lord Qing Zhu had another thought. It was enough for him to protect EU alone. There was no need for a second man to appear. As for the trouble Su Yu would cause if he joined the team, he had never considered it. How could someone who was fighting so hard to become a heaven master cause trouble for a human king? In the blink of an eye, Su Yu would never be able to make a comeback. Su Yu was an expert at reading people's minds. He could clearly see the contempt in Lord Qing Zhu's eyes. He had no intention of being with them. Furthermore, if he stayed, he would only be humiliating himself. Lord Qing Zhu is right, Su Yu said. You just have to be careful. There is no need to worry about me. Goodbye. Su Yu cupped his fists. As for the broken dragon abyss fruit, Su Yu flicked it back. I'm not interested in broken items. Lord Qing Zhu, keep it for yourself. Su Yu did not even turn his head, leaving with a flash. After Su Yu left, Lord Qing Zhu felt humiliated, grabbing the dragon abyss fruit. This person is too arrogant. How rare are the dragon abyss fruits? Pretending to be calm and stubborn about his pride is not wise. He will need to spend a lot of time to make up for the loss he suffered from this rejection, Lord Qing Zhu evaluated. Unexpectedly, Xia Jingyu looked at him calmly. I do not think that a person with a complete dragon abyss fruit would reject a broken item out of pride. Lord Qing Zhu's expression turned rigid. A complete dragon abyss fruit? Him? Xia Jingyu waved her hand, causing water vapor to gather from all directions. The remaining aura in the air also merged with the water vapor. Seeing this, Lord Qing Zhu was embarrassed. I see. The other party had a complete item, but he had used a broken one to send a beggar away. Unexpectedly, in comparison, he was the beggar. Such an action was a complete disgrace. Also, Xia Jingyu calmly said, if this person wanted to harm me, he would have succeeded long ago. He is very powerful, and you might not be able to do anything to him. In other words, Lord Qing Zhu was gauging the heart of a ruler with his own mean measure. Just now, when Su Yu had wanted to attack, Lord Qing Zhu had rushed back. It was too late. Lord Qing Zhu chuckled. Ah, is that so? Knowing that Lord Qing Zhu was not convinced, Xia Jingyu did not bother to explain, continuing her search expressionlessly. Su Yu also chose a direction, focusing on finding the dragon abyss fruit. Chapter 408. Half a day later, Su Yu unfurled the map, a look of helplessness on his face. After half a day, I've only found 5 damaged dragon abyss fruits. Even with his soul eyes, it was still so difficult. This greatly exceeded Su Yu's expectations. According to the rumors, one needed to consume 100 dragon abyss fruits in succession to break through to Heaven Master. From the looks of it, this rumor was not true. If it was so difficult for him, how would it be for others? Being able to return empty-handed in a day was considered lucky. There had to be more to it than met the eye. Unfortunately, he had no background and was not well informed. Unfurling the map, Su Yu thought for a moment, then looked to the west. I've scanned the easternmost region. Only the region near the Banished Abyss has not been explored. Even though it was dangerous to approach that area, Su Yu did not have much of a choice in the current situation. After all, including the travel time, it was only 3 days. With a thought, Su Yu prepared to leave. Suddenly, he saw a black ripple from the corner of his eyes. Su Yu looked over like lightning. Su Yu exclaimed in surprise, walking over quickly. There was a pool of stagnant water, 100 feet wide. The water in the pond was dark and calm, without any ripples. Su Yu stood at the side of the pool, rubbing his chin. The abyss has been sealed for many years. There has never been any rain, so where did the water come from? Su Yu's gaze flickered, his soul eyes probing the bottom of the pool. Even though the water was dark, it was extremely clear, without any impurities. Creak. However, after 20 feet, Su Yu's soul energy was suddenly rebounded. Without hesitation, Su Yu retreated 100 meters, his eyes filled with shock. What is going on with this black pool? This was the first time his soul eyes had been forcefully rebounded. All of a sudden, Su Yu's pupils contracted, and his face lit up with joy. Beside the black pool, there was a plant as thick as a person's thigh. A purplish-black fruit hung from it, a complete dragon abyss fruit. Su Yu was surprised, but after scanning for a moment, his expression turned serious. This black pool is strange. Most of the dragon abyss fruits in the Messy Rocks ruins have been bitten to varying degrees. Only in extremely secretive places could a complete fruit be preserved. The dragon abyss fruit in front of him grew beside the empty pool, yet it had not been discovered by the ferocious creatures. There was definitely a danger in this black pool that even ferocious beasts were wary of. Thinking of this, Su Yu retreated even further. Staring at the dragon abyss fruit, Su Yu pondered quickly. If he had not lost his sight, he could have easily plucked it with space teleportation, but now, with a flicker of his eyes, Su Yu released his spiritual energy and formed a human figure outside his body. For the second-grade clone art, he could only rely on his clones. This avatar had already started cultivating the path of fire. Although there were only a few words in the fire attribute mythological fragment, after comprehending it, the avatar would naturally carry the power of fire. Hence, it looked faintly crimson. The clone bent down and crawled on the ground. Relying on the strength of its arms and waist, it crept toward the dragon abyss fruit like a hunting leopard. It looked like it was only 1,000 feet, but the avatar actually crawled for half a cup of tea's time. Finally, the clone arrived below the dragon abyss fruit. He held the universe jade shovel in one hand and stared at the pitch-black pond for a moment. Then his right hand moved at lightning speed and dug out the entire plant. Then, together with the jade shovel, he threw it back. Su Yu was prepared. He took out a huge jade box and leaped into the air, accurately storing the plant within. He grabbed the jade box with one hand and the universe jade shovel with the other. He used the short-distance wings and escaped tens of thousands of feet in an instant. Walala, just as he was about to escape, a black wave rose from the black pool behind him, reaching a height of several thousand feet. Su Yu's avatar disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Where he had just stood, there was a long black shadow that swept past. The speed was too fast, far beyond human imagination. Su Yu felt a pain in his head. He knew that his avatar had been destroyed. Roar! Suddenly, a muffled and deafening roar came from the depths of the black water pool. It was as if Su Yu had angered a terrifying giant. Hearing the roar, Su Yu's body trembled. The spiritual energy in his body became sluggish, and his blood froze. Having lost the support of the short-distance wings, he fell from the sky. He was 1,000 feet in the air. If he fell like that, wouldn't he be smashed into meat paste? Su Yu's expression changed. He covered his chest with both hands and balanced his legs. He adjusted his landing position and landed on his back. Thump! With a loud thud, Su Yu finally landed alive after tumbling a few times on the ground. Even though his clothes were torn, his blood was in turmoil, and his body was in pain, he was not injured. Su Yu looked at the black pond in fear, a chill running down his spine. Just what kind of living being existed in the black pond? He knew that he could fight if he met a human king. But the terror of that living being made Su Yu unable to think of a way to deal with it. Even a human king could not cause his spiritual energy to become sluggish and his blood to freeze with just a roar. The roar reverberated throughout the abyss, long and distant. The commotion is too great. I cannot stay here for long. Su Yu checked his injuries, immediately making up his mind. But just as he was about to move, two figures broke through the clouds, cautiously heading in his direction. Brother Black Snow, we meet again. Qin Xianer's eyes lit up, smiling as she walked over. Long Fei Yu was surprised, secretly observing his surroundings. His gaze finally fixed on Su Yu, sweeping his gaze across Su Yu's chest. Su Yu glanced at Xianer. There was still a jade box in each of his pockets. In half a day, he did not obtain a single dragon abyss fruit. Looks like he didn't get anything either. After confirming that Su Yu did not have too many dragon abyss fruits on him, he frowned and sank into deep thought. He was pondering whether he should ask Su Yu about the terrifying roar that had just been heard. Shwa. The clouds surged, and from another direction, two figures subconsciously gathered. Lord Qingzhu, Lord Yu. The two of them immediately grew wary. After sizing him up, their gazes landed on Long Feiyu. The faintly discernible aura of a human sovereign made the two of them tremble slightly. Long Feiyu was also on his guard and was extremely careful. The great Lord of Darkness. Long Feiyu's pupils suddenly shrank as he looked at the symbol on their cloaks. He cried out involuntarily. Lord Qingzhu secretly protected Xia Jingyu behind him. He squinted his eyes and asked, "You are?" If it was only Long Feiyu, he would not have to be so cautious. However, the Black Snow Devil King seemed to be with them. Heavenly Law Alliance, Long Feiyu. Lord Qingzhu muttered softly, feeling that the voice was familiar. He was shocked. The Heavenly Law Alliance's dragon family? Could it be the owner of that warship, the ancient dragon family? A shred of fear flashed in his eyes. As the great Lord of Darkness, he was very afraid of the dragon family. Long Feiyu wore a proud smile. That is correct. The two of them looked at each other for a moment. Lord Qingzhu smiled kindly. It is fate that we met, Brother Long, here. I am Qingzhu, and this is Yu. What happened just now to cause such a huge commotion? Lord Qingzhu. Long Feiyu's eyelids twitched, a little fearful. He glanced at Su Yu and said, "When I arrived, he was already here. Black Snow Devil King?" Qingzhu creased his brows. He did not have a good impression of Su Yu. His gaze passed over him, landing on the surface of the water, where the waves had yet to settle. Qingzhu glanced at Su Yu, not intending to question him. "Brother Long, you must have gained a lot in the Dragon Abyss," Lord Qingzhu said casually, but his gaze was secretly examining Su Yu and Xia Jingyu. He had a relaxed smile, as if he had gained a lot. Long Feiyu asked, "Oh, could Lord Qingzhu have gained a lot?" "Only average." Lord Qingzhu was a little hesitant. The two of them were testing each other. Only Qin Xian'er did not notice the two of them testing each other. She raised her head and asked directly, "Brother Black Snow, how many did you find?" Su Yu smiled. A black light flashed in his robes, and 3 damaged Dragon Abyss fruits were sealed in a jade box. "This half was prepared for you." Su Yu stuffed it into Xian'er's robes. Xian'er was shocked, retreating hurriedly. "I cannot take any more of Brother Black Snow's Dragon Abyss fruits. You have to cultivate as well." She already felt bad accepting a complete Dragon Abyss fruit. Su Yu smiled tenderly, stuffing it into Xian'er's robes. "Didn't you keep it for an important purpose?" Xian'er was in a daze. She bit her lip and accepted it apologetically. "Brother Black Snow, I will definitely repay you in the future. These Dragon Abyss fruits are very important to me." It was not important to breaking through to Heaven Master. Lord Qingzhu gasped, pretending to be calm and smiling. He could not help but look at Su Yu in a new light. "You found 6 more?" Long Feiyu's pupils dilated. Su Yu nodded slightly, walking toward the banished abyss. Lord Qingzhu hesitated for a moment, calling out unwillingly, "Brother Black Snow, please wait." Su Yu turned back to ask, "What is it?" Lord Qingzhu had a forced smile on his face. "Brother Black Snow, we just encountered a few Heaven Master ferocious beasts. I wonder if Brother Black Snow has encountered them before?" He had encountered them before, but he had sensed them beforehand and avoided them. "If you have something to say," Su Yu said with a smile. "Time is limited." Having his intentions exposed, Lord Qingzhu felt slightly awkward. "What I mean is that the Dragon Abyss of the 9 underworlds is dangerous and unpredictable. Even messy rock ruins are dangerous. Why don't we, as people who are training, work together?" Long Feiyu's eyes flashed, but he did not speak. However, what was surprising was that Su Yu rejected him without thinking. "I am used to being alone and am not good at cooperating with others. If this is what Lord Qingzhu wants to discuss with me, I can only express my regret." Seeing Su Yu's attitude, Lord Qingzhu felt a little indignant. Under normal circumstances, why would he lower his voice? But Lord Qingzhu also understood that he had made Su Yu unhappy by hiding his identity. "Brother Black Snow, to tell you the truth, there is something strange about the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds. Lord Qing Zhu let out a bitter laugh. According to the information I have, even though the dragon abyss fruits and the messy rocks ruins are rare, it should not be like this. Long Feiyu's eyes flashed, nodding to himself. As expected, they did not have any dragon abyss fruits. Chapter 409. After the two experienced people verified each other's words, everyone present felt a chill creeping up their backs. So I guess that something unexpected must have happened in the dragon abyss. If we travel together, we can help each other and ensure our safety. On the other hand, Lord Qing Zhu lifted his head to look at Suyu. On the other hand, we can also rely on Brother Blacksnow's ability to find more dragon abyss fruits. He had said so much because he was impressed by Suyu's ability to find dragon abyss fruits. Finding a complete dragon abyss fruit and saving Xia Jingyu from a poisonous bug. In half a day, the 4 of them had gained nothing. Only Suyu had found 5. This could not be described as luck. Long Feiyu had already guessed this. Thinking back, Gang Dalei had ordered them to enter the dragon abyss first, but he had gone alone with Black Snow Devil King. For example, where the dragon abyss fruits were more abundant. Siener's eyes lit up, smiling. Really? Brother Black Snow wants to come with us? Suyu creased his brows. His identity was sensitive, and it was not appropriate for him to team up with others. But from their words and actions, the situation in the dragon abyss was not right. It was too risky to travel alone. If it was a human king-level creature, Suyu would not be able to defeat it. He was confident he could escape. But if it was a half-god, he would be in trouble. After thinking for a while, Suyu nodded. Sure, but there are 2 conditions. First, is there a secret about the dragon abyss fruit that outsiders do not know? Please tell me the truth. Second, 60% of the dragon abyss fruits we find will belong to me. The remaining 40% will be split among the 2 of you. This, Qing Zhu and Long Feiyu hesitated. We can tell you the first condition, but isn't Brother Black Snow going overboard with the second condition? The main responsibility of protection will be shared by us 2 human kings. Brother Black Snow will only be responsible for searching. Such a distribution is not convincing. So he was not polite. Then you can find someone else. Qing Zhu was a little angry. This Black Snow Devil King was taking advantage of him. But unexpectedly, after hesitating for a moment, Long Feiyu nodded in agreement. I agree with Brother Black Snow's distribution. Qing Zhu was surprised. He secretly observed the relationship between Black Snow and Long Feiyu. They did not seem to be on the same side. So what was Long Feiyu's goal in agreeing? Fine, I accept your conditions. Lord Qing Zhu pondered for a while and nodded in agreement. Suyu's expression softened slightly. Then, you can tell me the secret of the dragon abyss fruit. Considering the rarity of the dragon abyss fruit, 100 complete dragon abyss fruits are too difficult. I cannot believe that you managed to achieve a breakthrough after collecting so many dragon abyss fruits. Qing Zhu chuckled, just as Brother Black Snow thought. It's not as simple as 100 dragon abyss fruits. In fact, directly consuming the dragon abyss fruits won't do you any good. Instead, the dragon breath absorbed by the dragon abyss fruits will destroy your body. They're extremely poisonous. It was actually like this? Suyu's heart shuddered. Fortunately, he had some misgivings and did not consume it rashly. If I want to use the dragon abyss fruit to make a breakthrough, I need to fulfill 2 conditions. First, I need to have 10 dragon abyss fruits, all 10 of them. Secondly, there must be a demigod realm beast refiner who can comprehend the heavens and earth, as well as other materials to refine it into a dragon abyss pill. Only then can one safely consume it and break through. The rumor of 100 dragon abyss fruits is naturally an exaggeration. The reason should be that when the elixir is successfully made, an illusion of 100 dragon abyss fruits will appear. Hence, the rumor is just a misunderstanding. Those who knew about the process of making the dragon abyss fruit were naturally unwilling to divulge it to outsiders. As for those who did not know, they could only make wild guesses. So that was why. Suyu immediately understood. If Brother Black Snow can give us an additional 10%, the Empire of Darkness is willing to help you make the elixir for free, Lord Qing Zhu said, his eyes flashing. Long Feiyu muttered to himself, "Leave this matter to the Heavenly Law Alliance. There are hidden elixir masters in the Alliance. The chances of failure are very low. Even if they were both making elixirs, their standards would vary. A poor elixir master could result in failure, waste of materials, and delay a breakthrough." To this, Suyu replied without hesitation, "We'll talk about this later. Our current mission is to find the Dragon Abyss fruit." The two of them looked at Suyu, nodding silently. Qingzhu turned back and sent a message to Yu. "Yu, we'll have to put up with it and borrow his ability." "Yu, why are you looking at that girl?" He suddenly realized that Xia Jingyu was staring at Qin Xian'er, her expression complicated. There was surprise, but also an indescribable emotion. "Nothing, she just looks like an old friend," Xia Jingyu replied nonchalantly, but she sighed in her heart. She could not immediately acknowledge Qin Xian'er, especially with Qingzhu beside her. Only the king knew of her relationship with Shenyue Island, and she did not want to implicate Shenyue Island. Qin Xian'er did not notice Xia Jingyu's gaze, her small face filled with surprise. "Brother Black Snow, this is great. I'll point the way for you. Treat me as your eyes." Suyu smiled, rubbing her head. Half a day later, the group worked together. They were in charge of chasing away the ferocious beasts, while Suyu was in charge of searching for the Dragon Abyss fruits. They found a total of 10 fruits. Suyu alone found 6. In total, 1 was complete, and the other 8 were damaged. Xia Jingyu looked at the 3 Dragon Abyss fruits in her hands, her brows creasing. The degree of damage to the Dragon Abyss fruits varies. According to the ideal situation, these can only be counted as half of the Dragon Abyss fruits. Under such circumstances, it was extremely difficult to gather enough Dragon Abyss fruits to refine the Dragon Abyss elixir. Even Suyu was creasing his brows. The combined Dragon Abyss fruits of the 3 of them could only be enough for 1 person. "Brother Black Snow, did we miss anything? Should we go back and search again?" Lord Qingzhu was deeply worried. The price to obtain a token of the Dragon Abyss of the 9 Underworld from the Heavenly Law Alliance was not small. If they returned like this, they would suffer a great loss. Suyu shook his head. "The Dragon Abyss fruits in the Messy Rocks ruins are all in our hands. If there are any left, they can only be in the Banished Abyss." "Banished Abyss?" The expressions of the 4 of them turned grave. Long Feiyu said seriously, "In the Banished Abyss, the ferocious beasts are not the scariest. The scariest are the people. Over the past 10,000 years, the Heavenly Law Alliance has captured many vicious people and sealed them in the Dragon Abyss. No one knows how many are still alive and how strong they are. The only thing we know is that there are definitely people of the king level. The number of human kings who have fallen in the Banished Abyss is definitely not in the single digits. Even human kings have fallen?" Qingzhu, Xia Jingyu, and Suyu were shocked. It was rumored that more than 90% of the people had fallen in the Banished Abyss. That place was an extremely dangerous place. Did they really have to go there? "We can only give it a try," Suyu said seriously. He had to make a breakthrough to Heaven Master. Chapter 410. Everyone nodded and headed towards the Banished Abyss together. It was more like a sunken basin than an abyss. The terrain gradually slid downwards. The vegetation was flourishing, far surpassing the rubble ruins. Of course, the demonic dragon's aura was even denser. Xia Jingyu's pretty face was slightly pale. She seemed to have consumed a lot of her physical strength and spiritual qi. Qingzhu and Long Feiyu were slightly better, but they were also a little strange. Only Suyu and Xian'er, who had consumed the earth vein spiritual liquid, were extremely calm. At that time, they had reached the top of a hill. This hillside is where the 2 intersects. At the bottom of the hillside is where the Banished Abyss is. The terrain gets steeper and steeper as you go down. It's extremely vast, at least 10 times the size of the rubble ruins. "We must not go in." Everyone nodded slightly. "I found a complete Dragon Abyss fruit." Suyu cried out involuntarily as he pointed at the side of a rock. Everyone was excited. It was indeed a complete Dragon Abyss fruit. Qingzhu and Long Feiyu guarded him on both sides. The 3 of them tapped lightly on the ground with the tips of their feet. They did not fly rashly and carefully put away the Dragon Abyss fruits. After obtaining a complete Dragon Abyss fruit, everyone's spirits were lifted. The Dragon Abyss fruit in the Banished Abyss was indeed much stronger than the messy rock's ruins. There are two of them in front of us. Suyu's soul eyes scanned the area, and he suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Taking a closer look, there were 3 Dragon Abyss fruits growing randomly under a huge tree. The 3 of them were overjoyed and successfully plucked it. 2 hours later, the Dragon Abyss fruits within a radius of 100 li were all taken. Suyu had 3 complete pills, and 12 were damaged, which meant that he had 9 complete pills. Qin Xiener, on the other hand, had 2 intact and 10 damaged, making a total of 7 intact. Xia Jingyu, on the other hand, had 2 intact and 6 damaged, making a total of 3 intact. Within a radius of 100 miles, the harvest was several times more than the entire messy rock ruins. However, there was still a long way to go to meet the requirement of 10 pills. We are only a little bit away. If we give up now, it would be a pity. How about we take the risk and advance another 50 kilometers? Qingzhu Saint was slightly anxious. Only Xia Jingyu was still a long way off. Suyu lacked 1, Qin Siena lacked 3, and Xia Jingyu lacked 7. Long Feiyu gritted his teeth. I have no objections. However, once I reach 10, I will immediately retreat and turn back. Looking at the darkness in front of him, Long Feiyu was extremely wary. Lord Qingzhu's expression changed slightly, and his gaze landed on Suyu. Black Snow Devil King, can you help us? The Black Snow Devil King was only missing 1. Once he found it, they would have to spend a lot of time to find all 7. Moreover, they might not even be able to find all 7 within a 25-kilometer radius. In such a dangerous place, stopping for a moment was an extremely dangerous thing to do. Suyu replied without hesitation, I'm sorry, but I'm not obligated to risk my life for you. The agreement between them was to search for the Dragon Abyss fruit together. Since he had gathered all of them, he could leave at any time. There was no such thing as going back on his word. Lord Qingzhu's face was full of anxiety. After thinking for a while, he took out a bottle of spiritual liquid from his bosom. There was a weak green flame in it. It was like a lamp that could be extinguished at any time. However, the flames emitted an aura that made Suyu's eyelids twitch. This is the Netherworld Ghost Flame. It's a rare treasure for those who cultivate fire-attributed cultivation methods. If you can refine it, it will greatly increase the strength of your cultivation method. Its value is not inferior to a mid-grade divine artifact. If Brother Black Snow is willing to help, I will gift this item to you. Suyu was tempted. The fragment of a legendary level cultivation technique from his clone only had a few words, and its power was limited. If it could be combined with the Netherworld Ghost Flame, unfortunately, I am an ice-based cultivator. Fire-based treasures are useless to me. Suyu was expressionless, releasing shreds of cold energy. The cold energy was extremely strong, causing the surrounding air to instantly turn cold. Lord Qingzhu had a troubled expression. At this moment, Xia Jingyu spoke, I have 10 mid-grade divine artifacts with me. You can choose one. Creak. Xia Jingyu did not move, but she took out 10 mid-grade divine artifacts from thin air. Suyu gasped. A space divine artifact. According to Yun Yazi, there were no more than 5 people in the continent who possessed such divine artifacts. The most shocking thing was that she actually had 10 divine weapons, and they were all mid-grade divine weapons. Even though they were normal mid-grade divine artifacts and not top-notch palace garrison divine artifacts, it was ridiculous for one person to possess 10 of them. Lord Qingzhu's eyes were burning with passion, his expression bitter. EU, over the past year, you've taken all the other lords' divine artifacts, haven't you? EU's comprehension abilities were demon-like. No matter how difficult a cultivation technique was, she could comprehend it within half a month. Thus, many fighters from the headquarters asked her to comprehend their cultivation techniques. At first, EU had helped them for free, as they were from the same faction. But this action had attracted unnecessary trouble. Too many fighters had swarmed toward her, not caring about the effects on her cultivation as they begged her. You cannot find peace. She had no choice but to state her conditions. One mid-grade divine artifact in exchange for the complete comprehension of an immortal-level cultivation technique, and a low-grade divine artifact in exchange for the comprehension of an immortal-level cultivation technique. Unknowingly, she had accumulated 10 frightening mid-grade divine artifacts. Apart from a king, no one dared to compete with her in the number of mid-grade divine artifacts. Suyu was shocked, but his gaze had already begun choosing. A moment later, he fixed his gaze on a cosmos ring. It was completely red and emitted a scorching heat. Shreds of faintly discernible flames burned within the cosmos ring. I want that, along with the Netherworld Ghost Flame. Also, give me the Netherworld Ghost Flame first. Return the divine artifact to me after the matter is over. Suyu chose this item. It was too suitable for his clone. Xia Jingyu looked at Suyu profoundly and calmly smiled. Sure. Qing Zhu froze, immediately realizing that he had been tricked. The other party seemed to be in desperate need of a fire-based item. A bottle of Netherworld Ghost Flame would have sufficed, but he had been extorted of a mid-grade divine artifact. Now that things had come to this, he had no other choice. Take it. Suyu was satisfied with the Netherworld Ghost Flame. The group discussed for some time, then quietly advanced 50 miles forward. Not long after, Suyu found enough Dragon Abyss fruits. An hour later, Xiener was only 1 short, and Xia Jingyu was 5 short. Suddenly, Suyu's pupils dilated. There are 2 Dragon Abyss fruits in front. Wait, one of them looks strange. Following Suyu's line of sight, the group came to a banyan tree. There were 2 Dragon Abyss fruits hanging on shrub. One was purple, but the other was black. Demonic Dragon Abyss fruit. Qing Zhu, Long Feiyu, and Xia Jingyu cried out at the same time, their expressions shocked. Demonic Dragon Abyss fruit? Xia Jingyu stared at the Dragon Abyss fruit, unable to conceal her joy. The Dragon Abyss fruit is formed from the breath of the demonic dragon. The thicker the breath, the better the quality of the Dragon Abyss fruit. But there's a type of Dragon Abyss fruit that contains pure demonic dragon breath. Its entire body is black. That is the demonic Dragon Abyss fruit. The energy contained in one is 10 times that of a Dragon Abyss fruit. This one seems to have been eaten by something. It is damaged, but it is definitely worth 5 whole Dragon Abyss fruits. With that, Xia Jingyu's Dragon Abyss fruit would also meet the requirements of perfection. To be able to leave earlier was what they wanted. Without another word, the group quietly walked forward, wanting to pluck the fruit. But suddenly, Long Feiyu's expression changed, instinctively blocking his chest with his arms. Thump! It was as if something had ruthlessly struck his arm, causing him to stumble and fall to the ground, tumbling a few times. Be careful! There's something! Long Feiyu exclaimed, scanning his surroundings in shock. He had not even figured out who, when, or from what angle it was that had attacked. Su Yu and Qing Zhu rolled on the ground without hesitation, distancing themselves from the demonic Dragon Abyss fruit. Their expressions were shocked. Enemy? Where was the enemy? It was understandable that Qing Zhu had not discovered it with his naked eyes, but Su Yu had not discovered it when he used his soul eyes. Ah! Qing Zhu let out a pathetic cry, clutching his neck as he screamed on the ground. His expression was that of pain. It was definitely not an act. Su Yu's expression changed. What had happened? Su Yu's eyes flashed, fixing his gaze on the demonic Dragon Abyss fruit. His soul eyes gradually focused. In that instant, the black demonic Dragon Abyss fruit gradually changed in Su Yu's eyes. From a fruit, it gradually turned into the face of a baby. No, it only had the outline of a baby. Its head was like that of a bat, but also like that of a dog. Its nose was long and sharp, and fangs protruded from the sides of its mouth. Its head was covered in black fur, looking ferocious and terrifying, like a ferocious ghost. Its dusky yellow eyes resembled a human's ferocious smile. It was as if the ferocious ghost had felt Su Yu's gaze. Its expression froze, evidently surprised that someone had discovered its existence. When it regained its senses, its eyes revealed a ferocious glint, its mouth dripping with a foul stench. Its deep eye sockets shot out 2 green rays of light. In that instant, Suyu felt dizzy, and he began to hallucinate. Not good. Chapter 411. Without thinking, Suyu bit his tongue fiercely. The pain came, and the dizziness dissipated. Be careful. It's an illusion technique, Suyu growled. This growl contained the aura of the Buddhist saint's 8 characters. It was as loud as a bell, deafening. Long Feiyu and Qing Zhu felt a chill in their hearts. A strange thing had happened. The pain they had felt gradually dissipated after they had regained consciousness. In the blink of an eye, their bodies were completely unharmed. What a powerful illusory technique. It can actually produce such a realistic sense of pain. Their expressions changed slightly, and the way they looked at Suyu gradually changed as well. In terms of abilities and cultivation level, they were far superior to Suyu. Why was Suyu not affected? With their minds clear, the group looked toward the dragon abyss fruit once again. It was not a demonic dragon abyss fruit, but a ghost that looked like a dog, like a bat, but not a dog. That plant was not a dragon abyss fruit shrub, but the body of the ghost. It was a pitch-black skeleton, its structure mysterious, unlike any other living creature. Its neck was thin, its bones dense, and it looked shockingly similar to a plant. Evil creature. Long Feiyu let out a loud grunt, striking from afar. The spirit energy in his body condensed into a tiger, pouncing forward. Suddenly, the ghost let out a bone-chilling laugh. Attacking from afar to test my abilities and ensure my safety. You're not stupid. Speaking human language? What kind of monster was this? The ghostly creature's body moved and rose from the ground. Crack, the earth split open, and a huge black skeleton, 30 feet tall, grew out from the depths of the earth. Its body was like a giant ape, its head as small as a fist. It was truly strange. The ghost did not move, allowing the tiger to pounce on it. The 3-Zhang ghost's body swayed slightly, but it was not injured. What a strong defense. The group thought, shocked. Long Feiyu's eyelids twitched. Sienner, let's go. We'll give up on the dragon abyss fruit for now. The ghost was mysterious and powerful. It would not be worth it to fight it head-on. Qing Zhu also retreated secretly. Suyu was 1 step ahead of them, sliding hundreds of zhang in the other direction. The 3 of them decided to split up and retreat. It's too late to leave now. The ghost let out a sinister laugh, letting out a sharp whistle. Bang, bang. Suddenly, many hair-like roots sprouted from the ground and wrapped around the 3 of them. His body is still underground. Qing Zhu's expression changed drastically. She pushed off the ground with the tip of her foot and leaped into the air. 3 roots pierced through the ground, heading straight for him. It was so sudden that it caught everyone off guard. However, he was the great sage of darkness after all. His reaction and battle prowess were definitely not to be trifled with. Clear Wind Sword. With a clench of his fist, 3 wind blades that were half a zhang long slashed down. The strike of a sovereign personage drew on the power of the world, showing terrifying might. The roots snapped. However, 1,000 roots suddenly burst out from the ground and rushed toward the green bamboo like a waterfall. Qing Zhu's expression changed. He thrust out with both palms, and a total of 9 wind blades shot out. Clang! The 1,000 tendrils were as soft as refined iron, and the wind blades were bounced off. It wrapped around Qing Zhu and dragged him into the ground. Sky Water Seal. At the critical moment, Xia Jingyu grabbed the air with her fingertips. The 3,000 roots trembled slightly, and a faint red liquid was forcibly extracted from the roots. The roots shriveled up a little, and the ghost screamed as it was dragged along. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Qing Zhu forcefully broke free and flew into the sky. After checking, Qing Zhu was shocked to discover that the muscles where the roots had entangled had withered and hardened with green spots. This ghost can devour the life force of humans. Qing Zhu gasped. Xia Jingyu shot out a curtain of water that emitted a sparkling white light to heal the wound. In the blink of an eye, the wound returned to normal, no longer stiff. It can only heal the wound, Xia Jingyu said with a frown. Thank you. Qing Zhu was embarrassed and thanked him in embarrassment. He had clearly been protecting him, but he had needed Xia Jingyu's help. Let's fly into the sky first. Long Feiyu protected Xian'er, shooting thousands of zhang away. The roots chased after them, almost wrapping around Long Feiyu many times. It was a dangerous situation. In the end, they escaped hundreds of miles and returned to the messy rock's ruins. The group gathered once again. Where's Brother Black Snow? Xian'er had always paid attention to Su Yu, but only they had returned. Qing Zhu was at a loss. There was chaos just now. I did not notice. Long Feiyu's gaze flickered. No need to worry. The Black Snow Devil King's abilities are shocking, and he is very experienced. His reactions are even faster than ours. He should be safe and sound. Only Xia Jingyu's brows curved. That may not be the case. You are human king fighters. It is not surprising that you could escape the roots. But the Black Snow Devil King's abilities are not enough to deal with the roots. Furthermore, we had an agreement. We would protect him, and he would be responsible for finding the Dragon Abyss fruit. Now that we are in danger, we have abandoned him. A shred of guilt welled up in his heart. Long Feiyu's gaze flickered. Why don't I take the risk and go back to take a look? Xian'er was instantly grateful. Mr. Long, you must save Brother Black Snow. It was rare to realize that Long Feiyu was a responsible person. He was not as annoying as she had imagined. Whoosh! Without further ado, Long Feiyu immediately moved. However, he stood hundreds of miles in the sky to prevent any sneak attacks. The remaining group was silent. This might explain why there are so few Dragon Abyss fruits this time around, Qing Zhu said with a sigh. Xia Jingyu nodded. That ghost seems to feed on the Dragon Abyss fruit. More importantly, its abilities are frightening. The attacks of the two human kings were ineffective, but its aura is clearly that of a heaven master. How could it be so powerful? Qing Zhu's calf ached, his heart palpitating. Xia Jingyu thought for a moment, as if searching her mind for something. She slowly opened her eyes, her expression grave. I'm afraid we have encountered the legendary Rakshasa. Qing Zhu was not surprised by Xia Jingyu's actions. This woman had read hundreds of thousands of scriptures in the Empire of Darkness. She had a superb memory and a photographic memory. There was not much in the world that she did not know. Xian'er was confused. Sister Iyu, what is a Rakshasa? Is it very powerful? Iyu shook her head. A Rakshasa is not considered powerful. After a living creature dies, its soul is contaminated by evil energy for a long period of time. In the end, it attaches itself to a host. It is proficient in secret soul techniques and has a strong physical body. Its weakness is that it is afraid of fire and objects of yang energy. If it can be countered, a human heaven master can easily defeat it. Among the ghosts, it is the weakest existence. Above it are frightening ghosts at the half-god realm, like the White Azura. In fact, above the White Azura is the legendary heavenly ghost. It is an existence that transcends the world and is at the fairy realm. There were ghosts at the level of the fairy realm in the world. From the looks of it, the Rakshasa was extremely weak among the ghosts. The fact that they could escape so easily was proof enough. Thus, the Rakshasa is not considered powerful, Iyu said. But what worries me is that, according to the ancient texts, the Rakshasa never acts alone. They only act in pairs. Suyu dove into the banished abyss, not following them. Suyu stopped running when he reached a sunken boulder. He turned around slightly. Hee, not running anymore. The huge body of the ghost approached, sweeping its gaze across the surroundings. The ghost's cunning eyes narrowed. It looks like you did not choose your path in a panic. Instead, you lured me here. You seem to be very confident that you can deal with me. Suyu was calm. It's all right. It should not be a problem for me to deal with you. The ghost laughed coldly. A mere immortal realm human wants to fight with me? What a joke. Creak, but Suyu flicked his wrist, burying a bolt of lightning beneath his feet. At once, a pungent smell filled the air. The ghost's face twitched, its eyes filled with ferocity. Since you were so confident, why did you launch a sneak attack? Suyu let out a cold laugh. Do you think that this little bit of lightning can deal with me? The ghost was a little wary, not daring to advance. Su Yu's eyes flashed. There is only you and me here. You can say whatever you want. Among all of us, you only chased after me. You must be plotting something. In terms of life force, the ghost could not be compared to a human king. It was difficult to understand why it would chase after Su Yu alone. So what if I know? The only thing that awaits you is death. The specter let out a low roar, and tens of thousands of roots surged out. Su Yu was calm. Thousand Thunder Finger. A ring of purple lightning flew out from his fingertip, imprinting itself on the roots. Creak! The tens of thousands of roots were destroyed in an instant. Lightning was an object of yang in the world. It was the best way to counter evil. The ring of lightning did not slow down, attacking the body of the ghost. The ghost let out a pathetic cry. Its entire body was covered in black rocks. Faintly discernible flames burned on its body. So you're a martial artist who specializes in lightning-based techniques. The ghost's fear deepened, its ferocity even more intense. Unfortunately, you are only at this level. If you had become a heaven master, I would still be wary of you. Unfortunately, the ghost suddenly let out a cold laugh. That attack, just now, had been to test the other party's limits. Seeing that his lightning-based techniques had not reached the upper tier, he was completely at ease. With a sinister laugh, the ghost's huge body came crashing down. Su Yu's expression did not change. His Thousand Thunder Finger was only at lower class, more than enough to deal with an immortal realm level 4 peak. Against a heaven master, it was not as powerful as he wished. This was even under the effect of his control. Otherwise, he would not have been able to deal any damage to the powerful body of the ghost before him. He formed the Thousand Thunder Finger again. The ring of lightning rumbled, imprinting itself on the other party's body. The ghost let out a pathetic cry, forcefully pulling out 100-foot-long black bone. Su Yu's shoulder slid, dodging it agilely. But suddenly, a sharp black bone shot out from the ground, as if it wanted to pierce through Su Yu on the spot. At that moment, Su Yu was flying backward. His movements were at their slowest. "Give it your life." The ghost let out a sinister laugh. But suddenly, the ghost let out a heart-wrenching cry, turning its head to look behind it. A bolt of spirit energy had formed Su Yu. His entire body was a fiery red, releasing a scorching heat. He was holding a bottle of jade-green flames, which he splashed onto the ghost's body. The temperature of the jade-green flames was extremely high. In an instant, the ghost's body was engulfed in raging flames. Second grade clone technique. Chapter 412. Su Yu's expression was calm. Of course it was when you were creating the illusion. At that time, the Rakshasa had to deal with the three of them. After Su Yu had awakened from the illusion, the first thing he had done was to create a clone to carry the netherworld green flames. Now he had finally succeeded. With an unwilling roar, the ghost was burned to ashes. Thump! A dull sound traveled into Su Yu's ears. Su Yu stepped forward, surprised. With a wave of his sleeves, the ashes scattered, revealing a grayish-black crystal the size of an egg. Black crystal! Su Yu was shocked. Just like how the human race had a cultivation dantian to gather spirit energy, ghosts naturally had something similar. That was the black crystal. The black crystal contained the energy it had cultivated. It was pitch black inside. Could it be the demonic dragon's breath? Sensing it carefully, it was no different from the aura of the dragon abyss fruit. In fact, it was 5 times purer. This black crystal was equivalent to 5 complete dragon abyss fruits. Furthermore, Su Yu could faintly sense that there was a weak and pure soul energy within it. Ghosts were formed when their soul energy was corroded by an external evil. However, a portion of the soul energy could not be corroded due to special reasons. Hence, it was sealed within the black crystal by the ghost. This portion of soul energy had lost its owner's consciousness and had not been corroded by the evil. It was the purest of souls. If it could be refined into elixirs, it would be extremely beneficial to strengthening one's soul energy. His Heaven Sun gazing at air technique was stuck at stage 1 upper class. This black crystal might be the key to breaking through the bottleneck. The only pity was that there were too few of them. In the banished abyss, there was an ancient hall suspended in a deep ravine. Two black-robed men stood in front and behind. The man in front was blind as left eye. A long claw mark ran through the left half of his face. The man in the back was missing a piece of his head, as if it had been bitten by something. However, he was lucky enough to survive. The two of them quietly observed the spirit pool beneath their feet. The pool water reflected the scene of Su-Yu killing the ghost. Ding! The man with the knife scar laughed. This group of people came at the right time, just in time for the once-a-century demonic dragon blood sacrifice. Even though it is nearing its end, it is even scarier. The headless man at the back said coldly, "The life and death of outsiders have nothing to do with us. It's just that this little guy is quite extraordinary. If I'm not wrong, he should be proficient in body arts, thunder Dao, and even a soul prodigy. Moreover, he was quite skilled in all of them. It's really a pity that he died like this." The man in front snorted. "What's there to feel pity about? Could it be that you sympathize with outsiders? Generation after generation, generation after generation, the abyss that trapped the demonic dragon. Who did it? Isn't it them?" The headless man shook his head coldly. "Sympathy? Why do I have such silly feelings? I was just thinking that it would be a pity for such a person to die in the hands of ghosts. Why not?" The man in front of him realized something. "You mean?" The man behind him nodded calmly. "All right, go and do it. Be careful of the ghosts," the scarred man instructed. The brain-damaged man said coldly, "You worry too much. As long as it's not that heavenly ghost, even if the white Azura comes, what's there to fear? Then go." After the brainless man left, the knife-scarred man's remaining right eye shot out a fierce glint. "Humph. Once my Cosmos Thunder Sword is completed, will the Banished Abyss still have a place for you? Do you really think that just because you're proficient in ghost controlling techniques, you can sit with me? When the Cosmos Thunder Sword is completed, even if that heavenly ghost comes, it will be annihilated." As the man muttered to himself, his entire body was covered in black lightning. Su-Yu, who was completely unaware of this, immediately left the Rakshasa land of ashes. He took a roundabout route and found a withered tree hole to hide in. Su-Yu held the green netherworld flame in his hand, summoning his clone. His eyes flashed, and a wisp of green netherworld flame was extracted from his fingers, fusing it with the clone. Creak! The clone flickered violently, as if it was about to collapse. "Activate that piece of mythical artifact." The clone sat down cross-legged, forming seals with both hands. The seals were profound and extraordinary. A faint crimson color circulated throughout the clone's body. The wisp of green netherworld flame that had entered the clone's body was silently absorbed. Finally, the crimson body had an additional tinge of emerald green. As expected, the piece of mythical artifact does not have a clear method to control and swallow the flames, but it contains a will to command all the flames in the world, just like the Buddhist Saints' 8 characters, which can command the spirit energy of heaven and earth, condensing it into a heavenly voice. As such, controlling the flames to temper my body is not a difficult task. With his heart at ease, Su-Yu methodically constructed the clone. 2 hours later, a crimson figure appeared in front of Su-Yu. The figure's body was translucent, and the flames were restrained, so you could not sense any heat from it. It was no different from a normal spirit energy clone. "Oh, that piece of mythical artifact control over the flames has reached such a high level?" Su-Yu stroked his chin, feeling surprised. Even his original body had not detected the clone's fire-based aura. This was a completely different situation from before, when the clone's entire body was at a high temperature. Haha, if that's the case, I might be able to give the enemy a surprise at a crucial moment. Su-Yu smiled. Retrieving the clone, Su-Yu thought for a moment, preparing to look for them and meet up with them. With a black crystal, which could replace 5 Dragon Abyss fruits, so you could give 1 or 2 Dragon Abyss fruits to Sienner to make up for the amount of Dragon Abyss elixirs. As for Qing Zhu and Yu, Su-Yu did not plan to take the risk of entering the Banished Abyss for them. Previously, when he was in danger, Qing Zhu had no intention of helping him. Now that the agreement had been broken, Why should he risk his life for them? Even though he had a good impression of EU, it was not to the extent where he would risk his life for her. But Suyu's eyes flashed, and he sat down once again. His soul eyes opened, piercing through the trees and the dense fog, looking dozens of miles away. A figure sneakily approached. The silhouette of the figure was that of Long Feiyu. It's him. Suyu was slightly shocked. He did not think that Long Feiyu had saved him out of kindness. After experiencing the danger just now, Suyu could have died at the hands of the ghost. How could Long Feiyu forget such a good excuse? At this moment, Long Feiyu had a yellow dog on his palm. It sniffed the air continuously, occasionally barking in Suyu's direction. Long Feiyu wore a cold smile as he walked towards Suyu. I knew you would not die so easily. Long Feiyu let out a ferocious laugh, walking quickly towards Suyu. Suyu's expression changed slightly, and he slowly stood up. It looked like he could not stay for long. He had to quickly meet up with them. Even though he was not afraid of fighting Long Feiyu, this place was dangerous. In his weakened state, he would undoubtedly die. However, just as Suyu was about to get up, an aura that made him shudder suddenly descended without any warning. Suyu's expression changed greatly. He hurriedly squatted down, concealing his aura. That terrifying aura belonged to a half-god. There really was a half-god in the Dragon Abyss. Upon closer inspection, it was a humanoid ghost with black wings on its back and white fur all over its body. It had a purple-faced fanged face, and its eyes glowed with a bloody light. It held a long spiked mace in its hand. It looked menacing and cold. Suddenly, the white-furred ghost turned its head subconsciously, looking in the direction of Suyu, who was 2 miles away. Shocked, Suyu hurriedly withdrew his soul eyes, secretly shocked. Could this be the white Azura? Suyu was wary. The white Azura's bloody eyes flashed with hesitation, then withdrew his gaze and shot toward Long Feiyu. Woof! Woof! Suddenly, the earthy yellow puppy in Long Feiyu's palm began to bark anxiously, filled with fear and alarm. Long Feiyu froze, his expression turning serious. Without another word, he dodged to the side and hid behind a giant rock. Whoosh! At that moment, a gale arrived. A 2-zhang-tall, giant ghost covered in white fur floated in the air. Its powerful wings stirred up a gale, and the sound of its wings filled the air. Long Feiyu gasped, his heart filled with shock. Half-god! His heart was filled with regret. In order to kill Suyu, he had taken a risk to return to search for Suyu. He had not expected to encounter the white Azura. The white Azura lowered its head and let out a cold laugh. Since I'm already here, do I still need to hide? The white Azura lowered its head and let out a cold laugh, swinging the spiked mace in its hand down. Crack! The giant rock exploded into 2 halves, revealing Long Feiyu's real body. The white Azura grabbed with its 5 fingers. A human king cultivation level that contains pure spirit energy. TSK, what good material for a blood sacrifice. You're much stronger than those mixed races in the abyss. Long Feiyu was shocked, but he did not react quickly enough. He released 2 powerful palm prints and took out a long whip from his waist. As he swung it, the long whip wrapped around a giant rock thousands of zhang away with the speed of lightning. Using the force of the attack, he shot into the sky, entering flight mode at the fastest speed possible. At the same time, the long whip in his hand turned into an afterimage as it attacked the white Azura. Everything was done in a short moment. But the white Azura let out a cold laugh and did not speak. The heavy spiked mace in its hand was like a feather. With a light wave, it destroyed the 2 palm prints. At the same time, he casually made a grabbing motion, accurately catching the whip in his hand. The white Azura let out a cold laugh and pulled. A middle-grade divine artifact is fine, but a human is not. Thump! Long Feiyu, who had flown tens of thousands of zhang away, flew backward at a speed even faster than his original speed. He landed accurately in the white Azura's palm. Be a good blood sacrifice. The white Azura let out a cold grunt, knocking Long Feiyu unconscious on the spot. Pausing, the white Azura looked in Suyu's direction. It hesitated for a moment, then spread its wings and flew over. Looking at the ancient tree below for a moment, it flicked its finger and the ancient tree exploded. A warm aura flowed within it. That feeling just now was not an illusion, the white Azura said. Forget it. I don't think he can escape the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds. Whoosh, with a flash of white, the white Azura disappeared. After a long time, the soil beneath the ancient tree suddenly wriggled, and a head cautiously poked out. Suyu surveyed his surroundings with his soul eyes, feeling slightly relieved. But Suyu did not feel relaxed. Instead, he felt unusually solemn. What is a blood sacrifice? It seems like they were not the only ones who came out. Suyu's heart sank. Had Sienna and the others also encountered the white Azura? Woof, woof! At that moment, a light bark came from beneath his feet. It was the spiritual dog that Long Feiyu had dropped when he was captured. Suyu's gaze flickered. He kept the dog, then headed toward the Messy Rocks ruins. In the Messy Rocks ruins, Qin Zhu's face was pale as he fled with Xia Jingyu and Qin Xian'er. Chapter 413. Qin Zhu's cultivation level was weaker than theirs. In addition, they had arrived a day ago, and their bodies had already been corroded by the demonic dragon's breath. How could they be faster than the white Azura? They were about to break through the abyss and return to the outside world, but the white Azura was only a few steps away. I can't bring all of you with me. There's still a glimmer of hope, Qin Zhu said apologetically without looking at anyone. Qin Xian'er's body stiffened. She turned to look at the ferocious white Azura, tears welling up in her eyes. But at the critical moment, she said bravely, "Let me go." She did not belong to the Empire of Darkness. Qin Zhu had already done his part by bringing her with him to this place. Qin Zhu felt guilty. It went against his conscience to abandon a petite girl in the face of danger. Qin Zhu brings Xian'er away. Xia Jingyu's eyes flashed with determination. She broke free from Qin Zhu and formed seals, forming a water screen that covered 100 zhang. Qin Zhu's expression changed. You're crazy," Xia Jingyu said calmly. "I can't let her go." Qin Xian'er was stunned. She came to her senses and struggled. "Wait, I don't want you to save me." Even naive, Qin Xian'er knew that whoever stayed behind would die. How could she let a stranger die for her? Xia Jingyu formed seals quickly. In a few breaths, 18 layers of water seals covered the area below them. Xia Jingyu turned back, her eyes fixed on Qin Xian'er, but it seemed like she was looking at someone else. After a moment of silence, she took out a black book. It was made of jade and emitted a shocking spiritual pressure. Divine artifact, starry sky, heavenly book. Qin Zhu's expression changed again. This was only a low-grade divine artifact, but it was Xia Jingyu's most important divine artifact. It was as important as her life. This book recorded everything Xia Jingyu had seen in the Jinlong continent. She had copied it with her soul power. She had seen tens of thousands of techniques of the Empire of Darkness, countless scriptures, and all the knowledge and techniques of the world were in it. Even Lord Bai Luo had coveted this heavenly book. The techniques in it contained all the treasures of the Empire of Darkness. As long as one obtained this book, they would be proficient in all the techniques of the Empire of Darkness. Now that he had taken it out, he was making arrangements for his funeral. Whoosh! The heavenly book spun, but did not fall into Qin Zhu's hands. Instead, it fell into Qin Xian'er's arms. "Qin Zhu, promise me that you won't touch it," Xia Jingyu pleaded as she looked at Qin Zhu. Qin Zhu's heart skipped a beat. The greed in his eyes gradually melted. Why did you give it to her? He could not understand why Xia Jingyu would give her most precious heavenly book to a stranger. Qin Xian'er was also stunned. "Sister Yu, I don't want your book. Come back quickly." Xia Jingyu looked at Qin Xian'er and forced a smile. "Xian'er, help me pass it to Suyu. Tell him that I have not let him down." That book was the world she had seen. She wanted to use her eyes to replace Suyu and see the prosperity of the Jinlong continent. Qin Xian'er was lost in thought. You knew Suyu? Who was she? Lastly, I wish you all the best, Xian'er. Xia Jingyu's eyes were filled with tears and her heart ached. In the end, he still had to fulfill Qin Xian'er's wish. She was obviously the one who was preventing Xia Jingyu from getting close to Suyu, and it was only after her death that Xia Jingyu and Su Yu had a chance to get together. She had once thought that it would be great if Qin Xian'er could disappear from the world one day. But why was it that when Qin Xian'er was about to disappear from the world, the one Xia Jingyu gave up was herself, helping Qin Xian'er? Why? Because if she abandoned Qin Xian'er, Su Yu would hate her for the rest of his life when he found out the truth. Because she could not bear Su Yu's gaze of disgust. Because she could live in his heart. Leave quickly. Xia Jingyu's fingertips moved at lightning speed. Like a phantom, she condensed a bubble and pushed the two of them towards the abyss. Qin Xian'er was shaken, her eyes filled with tears. "Who are you? Why are you doing this?" Xia Jingyu raised her head and smiled. Her smile was filled with relief, reluctance, and a bit of desolation. I'm just an old friend." In the end, she did not say her name. She did not want Su Yu to be sad. If she died, Su Yu would definitely feel guilty and sad. If she died, Su Yu would definitely feel guilty and sad. Perhaps, when Su Yu flipped open the starry sky, heavenly book, he would understand the truth. But even if it was just a moment later, it was enough. Qin Zhu slowly closed his eyes, rising into the sky. "You're not worth it." Green Bamboo's eyes snapped open. Rage and hatred filled his eyes as he roared. She was not worth it for Su Yu. "Su Yu, Inu, I will make you pay with your life." Qin Zhu roared, tears rolling down his cheeks. He took Qin Xian'er with him, using Xia Jingyu's push to fly upward. Seeing them leave, Xia Jingyu felt as if she could see Su Yu in the distance, his past and future. In this life, she would never see Su Yu again. She would never see that face that she had missed day and night. Creak, the white Azura flew up, his dark face cold. "I do not understand the feelings of you humans," the white Azura said with a sigh. "I will never understand Lord Shangji's back when she looks up at the starry sky, lost in thought." The white Azura waved his halberd. 9 of the 18 layers of water curtains were destroyed. On the brink of death, Xia Jingyu did not give up. The water vapor around her body dissipated, and just as the last 9 layers of light curtains were destroyed, her body turned into a puddle of water. The white Azura charged forward, but Qin Zhu took the opportunity to leave the abyss. Looking down at the falling water droplets, the black-faced Azura surveyed the surroundings. The water clone is a mystical human technique, but too weak. The heavenly halberd stabbed in a certain direction. Whoosh, the cliff rumbled. A cloud of water vapor seeped out, forming Xia Jingyu's appearance. Under the cover of the water vapor, her face was pale, and a puddle of blood spread from her abdomen. But her hands were still forming seals. She turned into a cloud of water vapor and disappeared. The black-faced Azura coldly looked in a certain direction. "Guard the exit of the dragon abyss. Before the blood sacrifice, no one is allowed to leave." Whoosh, whoosh. There were more than 1,000 Rakshasas covering the sky and earth, blocking the narrow exit of the dragon abyss. Half a day later, Xia Jingyu's expression was pale, the water vapor on her face faintly discernible. Her body was riddled with injuries, and she was bleeding profusely. She was extremely weak. Her spirit energy was scarce, and her physical strength was exhausted. She had reached her limit. Thump! A strange white shadow descended, its feet shaking the ground. There were a few wounds on the black-faced Azura's body. Although they were not serious, the wounds left on a demigod's body were extraordinary. There was a rare hint of admiration in the black-faced Azura's cold eyes. In half a day, you used 81 offensive techniques and 109 supplementary techniques. A total of 190. It's hard to believe that a human can have so many techniques. Are you really human? Xia Jingyu did not even have the strength to speak. Yes, she was proficient in 190 techniques, all of which she had comprehended herself. Unfortunately, her level was too low. She could not hurt the other party, nor could she escape. She had tried her best. Forget it. I'll bring you back to see Lady Xingge. She might be interested in you. He raised his hand and was about to capture Xia Jingyu alive. But at that moment, a dark green figure suddenly appeared, but then immediately fled. "HM, there's someone else?" The black-faced Azura's expression changed, and he flew away without hesitation. Just as he was about to leave, a bronze figure descended from the dark, picked up Xia Jingyu, and turned to escape. Xia Jingyu screamed at first, but when she saw the figure's face, she relaxed. But this posture caused Xia Jingyu's expression to change. She glared at him. "Let go." So you thought. Her life was in danger, yet she still cared about her purity. This woman really valued her purity more than her death. But Suyu respected her. Grabbing her shoulder, Suyu quickly fled. After traveling for several kilometers, he burrowed into a collapsed ruin and concealed himself while holding his breath. Whoosh! Not long after, a gust of wind blew past. The black-faced Azura's cold face was filled with anger. "Damn it! You humans are too cunning." Suyu curled his lips. Compared to them bullying the weak and the strong bullying the weak, what was he doing? The black-faced Azura roared in indignation. He searched the area within a 100-mile radius for 10 times, destroying countless ruins. But there were tens of thousands of ruins. It was impossible to search them all in a short amount of time. "Lord Black Sun, the blood sacrifice is about to begin. Lord Shungu has ordered you to return quickly." A cow horn hung from its waist. The black-faced Azura's expression changed. It looked around indignantly, growling, "Consider yourself lucky. But don't even think of escaping the dragon abyss." Whoosh! With a flash of white light, the black-faced Azura left in a hurry. Several hours later, Suyu heaved a sigh of relief. That was close. He looked down at Xia Jingyu beside him. The water vapor was faintly discernible, about to be extinguished. Sensing that her true appearance had been exposed, Xia Jingyu was shocked. She hurriedly revolved her remaining spirit energy to maintain the concealment of her appearance. Suyu could not understand this woman. At this juncture, she was still clinging to her chastity, not wanting anyone to see her face. As if she understood Suyu's thoughts, Xia Jingyu was silent for a moment, then thanked him. "Thank you. I'm sorry just now. She just did not want any man other than Suyu to have any intimate relations with her." As for her appearance, it was too stunning. Facing the unfamiliar Black Snow Devil King, it was hard to guarantee that he would not take advantage of her weakened state to have any ulterior motives. "There is no need to explain," Suyu interrupted. "I understand. Why are you the only one left? Where are they?" An anxious look flashed in the depths of Suyu's eyes. "They have already left the Dragon Abyss," Xia Jingyu said. Hearing that Sienna was safe, Suyu let out a long sigh of relief. "Why did you appear? Where's Long Fei Yu?" Xia Jingyu asked. Suyu's gaze flickered. "Why has Brother Long not returned?" Nodding her chin, Xia Jingyu said, "We want to look for you. It looks like he met with misfortune. We encountered that Rakshasa, which must have alerted the white Azura. So that was the reason. Suyu crawled out from the rubble. I saved you by chance. You need not worry." After a moment's silence, Suyu said, "The exit of the Dragon Abyss has been sealed, right?" Xia Jingyu froze, then nodded with a bitter smile. Chapter 414. Blood Sacrifice? Xia Jingyu nodded. "I know a little. Ghosts would occasionally hold a blood sacrifice in order to summon a stronger being, using the blood and flesh of a stronger being to complete the sacrifice. But there are many types of sacrifices, and we cannot generalize them. I do not know what kind of blood sacrifice they are holding." Suyu raised his brows. "If that is the case, it would be safer for us to hide here." Thinking for a moment, Suyu took out a drop of earth vein spirit liquid. "Swallow it. I will help you refine it." Suyu sat down cross-legged. Xia Jingyu's eyes lit up. Bright earth milk exorcises demons and refines the body. It is hard to find in the outside world. You actually carry it around with you. I could not tell that the Black Snow Devil King had a high net worth. Suyu grinned. This Lord Yu was really knowledgeable. Even Gang Dalei did not know what kind of liquid he had discovered, even after so many years. Even Suyu was muddle-headed when using it. Laughing awkwardly, Suyu handed it over. Since she understood the use of this item, the rest was simple. Suyu used the cold energy in his body to dissolve the burning energy within the bright earth milk. Xia Jingyu's eyes flashed. So the Black Snow Devil King is also skilled in ice techniques. Suyu controlled it with precision, casually asking, "Why? You also know people from the ice techniques?" A blissful smile blossomed on her pale face. She softly said, "However, it is far from being as pure as you. You have integrated the cold energy into your body." In the midst of ice and fire, the ice divine herb had been completely devoured by Suyu, the cold energy merging into his flesh. Thinking for a moment, Xia Jingyu's fingertips slid on the ground, writing a technique in the blink of an eye. "Your cold energy must have been obtained by devouring some external object," she said. 90% of the cold energy has settled in your flesh. This is the unyielding cold technique, which I created after studying a spirit-level ice technique. It can stimulate the cold energy in your body and control ice to deal with your enemies. "This is the price of the bright earth milk," Xia Jingyu calmly said. She was cold and aloof, unwilling to owe Suyu a favor. Suyu was shocked. This woman could actually tell the origin of his chilly energy with just one sentence. This woman's knowledge and experience really made Suyu feel a little frightened. Shaking his head, Zhang Xian focused his attention on the formula, and as he continued reading, deep astonishment flashed across his eyes. You can actually create a cultivation technique that is higher than the immortal level. This cultivation technique should be close to the legendary level. Suyu gasped. If what this woman said was true, then her comprehension was truly terrifying. This technique originated from the true spirit, yet it was higher than the true spirit, almost approaching the level of a legend. What kind of comprehension was this? Suyu wouldn't have been surprised if she was an old monster that was hundreds of years old. However, the woman beside him didn't seem very old. She was even younger than Suyu. His heart trembled slightly. The Empire of Darkness's saint was definitely not an ordinary person. If he met Lord Shining again, he would have to be even more careful. Without another word, Suyu sat down with his legs crossed. He calmed his mind and comprehended. Now, with the help of the heaven's sun gazing at air, his soul energy far surpassed those of the same realm. Naturally, comprehending cultivation techniques was extremely fast. Half a day later, Suyu's body surged with chilly energy. Occasionally, his body would turn into a white tiger, and occasionally, it would turn into a dragon. There was also an aura that made one's skin crawl that was slowly being emitted. This was comparable to a human king expert. Xia Jingyu was shocked. She revolved the spirit energy she had recovered to block the chilly energy. Her face was filled with shock. What powerful comprehension! Even though this technique contains my comprehension, a normal person would not be able to comprehend it so quickly. How could she know that Suyu's ability to control time was temporarily sealed? Otherwise, it could be shortened by 20 times. Awakening from his cultivation, Suyu's face was filled with joy. "Thank you, Lord EU." More than 50% of the chilly energy in his body had been activated. Near his dantian, a small sapling that looked like a divine herb had formed. This item was like his dantian, able to store chilly energy. In theory, it could store it indefinitely. This was why the Imperious Cold technique was comparable to a legendary level technique. If Suyu were to use his full power, he might be able to fight against a human king. Xia Jingyu smiled, silently adjusting her breathing. Suddenly, a few auras appeared sneakily nearby. Suyu swept the area with his soul eyes, his expression changing. "Someone is coming. Be careful." Xia Jingyu froze. After a moment, she said seriously, "Two human kings." There were indeed two human kings of a human race. Suyu was on guard, but he did not know that Xia Jingyu was secretly looking at him with a shocked expression. Xia Jingyu had learned many techniques on the continent. In terms of sensitivity to the surroundings, other than Lord Bai Luo, no one else among the 7 Lords of Darkness could compare to her. But the Black Snow Devil King was able to detect movement so far ahead of her. This made her curious. Just who was this Black Snow Devil King, who had appeared out of nowhere and massacred millions of miles of mountains and rivers? Actually, for a moment, she had a feeling that the person in front of her was similar to Suyu. But the difference between the two of them was too great, and the thought disappeared in a flash. Since the two of us are here, is there a need for you to hide? Two figures stepped forward, heading straight for them. They had been exposed. The two of them looked at each other, having no choice but to reveal themselves. One of them was tall, and the other was short. They were dressed in beast skins, their hair disheveled, looking very barbaric. On the backs of the two of them, there were many strange black symbols moving slightly. The tall man in beast skin sized you up a bit wary. You are a bit dangerous. Lu and Mo, which one will you choose? The tall man in beast skin looked at the short man. The short man stared at Xia Jingyu, laughing. Is there a difference? That lad is dangerous, but this girl is not to be underestimated either. Since that is the case, let's act according to the situation. Suyu's heart turned cold. These were the criminals of the banished abyss. They were indeed very sensitive, able to sense their danger even before the battle began. They were very different from the people of the outside world. As such, it would be very difficult to obtain victory. But they were also afraid of Xia Jingyu. Lad, woman, give up resisting and follow me obediently. Perhaps you will not have to suffer, and we will not make things difficult for you. But the city master would like to invite the two of you into the Abyss City. We can swear that we will not harm you. Xia Jingyu was a bit hesitant, but Suyu rejected her without hesitation. Enough! Do you really think we are 3-year-olds? You swore not to harm us, but that does not mean the Abyss City swore. Don't try such petty tricks in front of me. Xia Jingyu, who was hesitating, suddenly realized something. She turned her head to look at Suyu, secretly ashamed. I have been in the Empire for many years, and I lack real combat experience. I'm not like someone like the Black Snow Devil King, who has been baptized in blood. The tall man's expression turned cold. I gave you a chance, but you did not cherish it. Since there was no way to win without bloodshed, they could only use force. The tall man took a deep breath, gathering spirit energy in his palms and attacking. There were 2 balls of spirit energy hidden under his legs. When they suddenly exploded, a powerful force burst forth, causing his body to explode with speed, so you could only see a remnant shadow. With a thought, a layer of cold energy appeared on the surface of his body. Wherever the cold energy passed, it froze the surroundings. The tall man's body stiffened slightly, and his speed slowed down. His figure was slightly revealed. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Suyu clasped his palms together. The cold energy was like a stream of water rushing toward the tall man. Waves of cold ice caused his figure to freeze even more slowly. By the time he attacked, his speed had slowed by 30%. Suyu spread the wings on his back, using the force to fly away. His body flew over the tall man's head. With a cold glint, his fist struck toward the top of the tall man's head like lightning. The tall man's body was frozen, and his movements were slow. How could he block Suyu's palm in time? At the critical moment, his shoulder slipped, and his head tilted slightly. His vital point had been avoided, and his shoulder took the blow. With a crack, the sound of his bones cracking could be heard. The tall man staggered, but he rolled forward before stopping and turning his head. Suyu, who had been about to land another punch, had no choice but to give up. The tall man rubbed his swollen shoulder, his expression cold. The path of ice, and your physique that is comparable to a human king. I cannot underestimate you. But if you think you are undefeatable, I can only say that you do not know the meaning of being banished to the abyss. The tall man's expression was gloomy, and he pointed a finger at his chest. The strange symbols suddenly exploded with thick, demonic energy, enveloping his body. Be careful. The fighters in the Dragon Abyss have been exposed to the demonic dragon's breath all year round, and have long learned to use it to strengthen their bodies. Their use of spirit energy is far inferior to that of the outside world. Suyu was speechless. No wonder the other party's spirit energy was not pure, and its power was limited. It must have been because he had been exposed to the demonic dragon's breath for a long time, causing his spirit energy to become impure. After the demonic energy surged, it returned to the tall man's body. But his body had undergone a shocking transformation. A pair of black, sharp horns appeared on his head, and sharp claws grew from his limbs. The muscles on his body were also several times stronger, emitting explosive power. His entire body had grown from 5 feet to 10 feet. The person before him no longer had the physique of a human. Dying. With a low grunt, the Horn Man threw a punch. The punch carried a powerful demonic energy. Suyu felt intense pain all over his body before the punch even reached him. Suyu retreated as he revolved the cold energy in his body. The divine herbs near his dantian glowed brightly. The terrifying cold energy swept the surroundings. Roar, roar. 2 illusionary dragons and tigers charged toward Suyu. These 2 attacks were no weaker than the attacks of a human king. In fact, they were even stronger than the attacks of a human king. But the Horn Man's punch forced the dragons and tigers to a stop. Then, with a loud roar, demonic energy surged and the dragons and tigers were destroyed. Seeing this, Xia Jingyu hurriedly reminded Suyu. Using this method, their abilities will increase by another level, and they will reach the peak of Human King. Don't fight them head-on. Stall for time. After 15 minutes, they will enter a weakened state. That will be your chance to kill them. Chapter 4:15. This woman was very difficult to deal with. Her skills were frightening. After fighting for so long, she had not used the same technique, causing his cultivation level to be greatly suppressed. Seeing that his secret had been exposed, the short man clenched his teeth, tearing apart the symbols on his body. After the demonic energy flickered, it turned into a snake with scales. His movements became much more agile. The pressure on Xia Jingyu increased. Coupled with the fact that the spirit energy in her body had not recovered, she was at a disadvantage. She was in grave danger. Suyu's expression changed. I'm afraid that while we are stalling for time, they're stalling for time. Even though they knew that using this method would cause them to become weak, putting them in extreme danger, it was hard to understand why the evil beings in the abyss would be so careless. The only explanation was that they had something to rely on. Xia Jingyu also thought of this, her expression turning ugly. Suyu's heart sank. I have to end this quickly. Secretly glancing at Xia Jingyu, Suyu could not be bothered to hold back. He clasped his palms together, sending numerous ice snakes toward the tall man. The tall man laughed in disdain. So what if you know we are stalling for time? Even if we don't, we can easily kill you. Crack, grabbing with both hands, the ice snakes were instantly crushed. But following that, a purple thunderbolt as thick as a wrist burst forth from the ice snakes. Ah! With a pathetic cry, the tall man's palms were charred, his entire body emitting a large amount of demonic energy. His strengthened body shook continuously, as if he was about to be released from his strengthened state. Not good. This kid is indeed proficient in lightning-based techniques, suppressing the demonic energy in our bodies. The tall man's expression changed. And this quickly, the short man glanced, his expression turning serious. He attacked Xia Jingyu ferociously, intending to assist Nabian. The tall man was shocked, a sliver of fear in his eyes. Unfortunately, your lightning-based techniques are still too weak. With a furious roar, the tall man was not injured at all, his demonic energy leaking out as he approached Suyu. A thick wave of pressure assaulted Suyu. Suyu's expression changed. Creak! A human figure suddenly appeared behind Suyu. His entire body emitted a crimson color, attacking the tall man like a shadow. The tall man was stunned, then let out a sinister laugh. Is it that fire element clone? Unfortunately, we already know your information. Rumble. The tall man sent a bolt of demonic energy, sending the clone flying, not allowing him to get close. The fire element was extremely effective against demonic energy. Whoosh. However, as the crimson clone was flying back, she actually took out a silver bow from under her body and shot an arrow at an extremely fast speed. The arrow was formed from crimson flames. Moreover, it was shot out so suddenly that it was impossible to defend against. Buffed. After the arrow pierced an inch into the Horn Man's back, it couldn't go any further. His physical body was simply too strong. However, The crimson flames contained in the arrow turned into a ball of raging flames and drilled into his body through the wound. At such a close distance, how could his heart avoid it? No. He screamed in horror as his heart was instantly reduced to ashes. Seizing the opportunity, Suyu threw a punch over and exploded his head. This was the only way to ensure that he was as dead as he could be. This was to prevent him from having a chance to counterattack even after his heart was shattered. With a thought, Suyu quickly put away the clone and the silver bow. He then leaped to the other side and attacked the short fatty with both his hands. The short and fat man was horrified. They all thought that Suyu was dangerous, but the premise was that he was on par with them, so he could at most injure them. However, there was actually death. This was beyond their expectations. Without thinking, the short fatty let out a low roar, the demonic energy around his body expanding like a balloon. Suyu and Xiaojingyu saw that the situation was not good and immediately retreated. Bang! The demonic energy exploded, creating waves of energy. On the other hand, the short fatty took advantage of this opportunity to use the reverse force to quickly leave. With Suyu's movement techniques, he could catch up, but Xiaojingyu might not be able to. It would be difficult for him to kill the other party alone. Furthermore, the other party's trump card had not appeared yet. Let's leave quickly. Suyu let out a low roar. As he passed by the horned man's corpse, he noticed a small pouch tied to its waist. Suyu lifted his palm and grabbed it. Then, he and Xiaojingyu escaped together. At the exit of the Dragon Abyss, a brain-damaged, middle-aged man, his eyes glowing with a green light. 10 Rakshasas stood respectfully in front of him. City Master Tun Gue, the short fatty, ran over, his face pale. He looked at the 10 Rakshasas in shock. The brain-damaged, middle-aged man before him was the second City Master of the Abyss City, City Master Tun Gue. He was an expert at controlling ghosts and was very famous in the Abyss. Furthermore, his half-god cultivation level made him an invincible existence. Apart from the first City Master, no one could match him. Where are they? City Master Tun Gue slowly closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his eyes had returned to normal. The short fatty broke out in a cold sweat. They escaped. Oomph. City Master Tun Gue grunted. You are useless. You couldn't defeat them, right? Since Hong Mo did not return, he must be dead, right? The short fatty broke out in a cold sweat. His knees buckled as he knelt and begged for mercy. City Master Tun Gue, please spare my life. Get up, City Master Tun Gue said casually. He did not seem to care about Hong Mo's death. I knew that you would not be able to capture them. Luo Mo was shocked. City Master, you knew? Then why? On the way here, City Master Tun Gue had not paid much attention. Instead, he had stayed behind to collect ghosts at the exit of the Dragon Abyss and sent the 2 of them to capture them. City Master Tun Gue grunted. You have followed me for so many years. Do you still not understand my situation? Luo Mo rolled his eyes. 2 tigers could not share one mountain. This had always been the case. How could the Abyss City have 2 city masters? However, the Dragon Abyss of the 9 underworlds was filled with ghosts. The Abyss City was attacked by ghosts all year round. Tun Gue, who could control ghosts, was very useful. Therefore, although the first city master wanted to get rid of him, he did not dare to do so. Instead, he had been secretly suppressing second city master Tun Gue, preventing him from forming his own forces. After pondering for a moment, Green Demon said, City Lord, do you mean to take advantage of the opportunity of chasing after 2 outsiders to tame some high-grade ghosts for your own use? Hee, at least you are smart enough. City Master Tun Gue laughed coldly. Does Mo think that I don't know that he is secretly refining the Cosmos Thunder Sword? This sword can even kill that heavenly ghost. Once the sword is completed, I'm afraid that I, an unnecessary person, will be erased from the world. Now that I've been transferred out of the city, it must be because the Cosmos Thunder Sword is about to be completed. You are worried that I will attack at the critical moment. Luo Mo rolled his eyes. Does my lord have a plan? It was unwise for City Master Tun Gue to let the other party go at such a critical moment. Tun Gue laughed coldly. He plan? Isn't leaving the Abyss City a plan? The Cosmos Thunder Sword is a powerful and peerless item. Laemo thought that his plan was flawless, but how could he hide it from that heavenly ghost? If I'm not wrong, that heavenly ghost will definitely rush over before the sword is completed. When that happens, a massacre will be inevitable. I came out early to avoid this disaster. The defense of the Abyss City is enough to stop White Azura, but that heavenly ghost. She does not want to attack us. Otherwise, the city's formation would be destroyed in an instant. What a joke. Laemo wants to dominate the dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds by forging such a powerful thunder sword. How could she ignore such a threat from the heavenly ghost? If I am not wrong, that heavenly ghost has already moved. I do not know where she is now. Luemo was dumbfounded. No wonder Lord Tungue did not do anything. This way, he can use the heavenly ghost to get rid of Laemo. In the future, Lord Tungue will be the only city master. There was a hint of excitement in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by worry. But what if the heavenly ghost cannot move? The demon dragon blood sacrifice is just around the corner. The heavenly ghost cannot be idle. If she has no time to deal with it, it will be too late by the time the Cosmos Thunder Sword is completed. It seems that City Master Laemo also considered the existence of the heavenly ghost when he forged the sword at the last moment of the blood sacrifice. That is why he chose the day of the blood sacrifice, which happens once in 100 years. Hearing this, City Master Tungue's expression gradually turned serious. Yes, that is what I am worried about. Therefore, I purposely let those 2 outsiders escape to buy me some time outside. I want to take this opportunity to gather some powerful ghosts, just in case. If the Cosmos Thunder Sword was completed, he could only brace himself to face the peerless Thunder Sword. At that time, the ghost in his hands could be used as a trump card. Then, what about the 2 outsiders? Are we just going to ignore them? Luemo came to a sudden realization. Then, he felt sorry for Hongmo's death. However, if the Red Devil was dead, then they could use the fact that the 2 outsiders were powerful. This would make their escape seem logical. It would also give City Master Tungue a legitimate excuse to stay outside. Of course, City Master Tungue snorted coldly. The Dragon Abyss is not a charity. Since they have entered, they must be prepared. Chasing them is just a show for the higher-ups. The 10,000 miles cloud-piercing realm can observe the movements of all beings below the demigod level. If you do not follow closely, Laemo will definitely be suspicious. City Master Tungue said hesitantly, but I am useless and have already lost them. The imitation 10,000 miles cloud-piercing realm is with Hongmo. It is very likely that the enemy has taken it. City Master Tungue chuckled. I have considered this as well. I know that you are useless, but I still let you go. Naturally, I have my reasons. Before you left, I placed some evil ghost aura on your bodies. It is colorless and odorless, and it is difficult to get rid of it. It can last for half a month. When you were fighting with them, the aura must have drifted onto their bodies. Now, all you need to do is carry this compass, and you will be able to track them. Half a month should be enough. Hearing this, Luemo took the compass and said happily, I know what to do. Take these 10 Rakshasas with you. You don't need me to teach you how to control them, right? City Master Tungue waved his hand and handed the Rakshasas to Luemo. Luemo's eyes lit up. He said excitedly, I know, of course I know. How could I dare to forget City Master's teachings? That is just a little bit of controlling ghosts, but it is enough for you to enjoy. Go! Luemo took the 10 Rakshasas and left quickly. Chapter 416. But before the Abyss City changes, it is better for me to be respectful. If you really become the master of the Abyss City as you wish, with me as your right-hand man, I might be able to rise even higher. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were sitting in a crack between a pile of rubble, their bodies exhausted. In order to kill the Horn Man, other than some of Yin Yu's unique techniques, he had used all his trump cards, especially his clone. Even though the silver bow had been hidden in time, Xia Jingyu could still see the clone. Black Snow Devil King, that clone of yours is similar to the second-grade clone technique of the Empire of Darkness. I only know of 2 people who are practicing this technique. One of them is the fallen inspector by he, and the other is Inu, whose whereabouts are unknown, Xia Jingyu said without batting an eyelid. However, she was secretly observing the changes in Su Yu's expression. Su Yu froze. I do not know Inspector Bai He, but I have heard of Deputy Palace Master Inu. Does he also know the clone technique? I did not notice. Creasing her brows, Xia Jingyu thought for a moment, then understood. The Black Snow Devil King's clone technique was very different from the second-grade clone technique. His fire attribute clone was truly astonishing. A normal second-grade clone technique was formed from normal spirit energy and could not absorb fire element energy. At least, in Xia Jingyu's memories, there was no such technique. How could she know that it was a fragment of a myth? Seeing that Xia Jingyu's attention had been diverted, Su Yu heaved a sigh of relief. He took out a small bag and took out all the items within. There were some small miscellaneous items, including metal coins, a few unknown black medicinal herbs, some scattered rocks, and some cloth. What is this? Su Yu found a jade box among the items. Thinking for a moment, Su Yu placed it far away, forming an ice needle on his fingertip and shooting it toward the button of the jade box. Crack! The jade box opened without a sound, but a yellow gas was emitted from within. The smell was pungent, extremely unpleasant, and extremely corrosive. The ground had been melted into pits of various sizes. Xia Jingyu was slightly shocked, looking at Su Yu in admiration. Luckily you were so careful. Otherwise, we would not have died in the hands of a human king, but in front of this jade box. That would be a joke. Su Yu was unconcerned. It's always good to be careful when you're outside. Retrieving the jade box, Zhang Xian found a mirror the size of an eyeball lying quietly within. The surface of the mirror was glossy and emitted waves of spiritual pressure. It was a low-rank divine artifact. It's your turn. Su Yu passed it to Xia Jingyu. This woman was so knowledgeable that Su Yu had to admit that he was inferior to her. Hearing his teasing words, Xia Jingyu harumphed in annoyance. She didn't take it and instead said with fervor and assurance, "There's no need to look at it. This is a high-grade divine artifact, the 10,000 miles cloud-piercing mirror. By injecting spiritual energy into it, you can observe everything within a radius of 1,000,000 miles. Unless one cultivates a special cultivation technique that can shield them from the prying eyes, there's nothing we can do at other times." High-grade divine artifact? Su Yu's hand trembled. Xia Jingyu let out a laugh. I forgot to tell you that this is a replica and is only low rank. It should be able to observe everything within a radius of 10,000 miles. However, if it is someone with a cultivation level higher than ours, it will not appear. Su Yu was disappointed. You're not too late. Even if you can avoid the pursuit of a Heaven Master, you should still be able to understand the terrain and search for the Dragon Abyss fruit. With their cultivation levels of a Mortal Realm Level 4 peak, they could only observe existences of a Mortal Realm Level 4 upper tier. Oh, there seems to be something at the bottom of the jade box. Su Yu retrieved the 10,000 miles cloud-piercing mirror and weighed it in his hand. He suddenly realized that there seemed to be something at the bottom of the jade box. He quickly opened the jade box and took out a 5-colored crystal stone from it. Red, yellow, white, black, and green. The colors were distinct. It's your turn again. Oh, why are you looking at me? Su Yu turned his head and suddenly realized that Xia Jingyu was staring at him. Even though it was covered by water vapor, Su Yu could feel her gaze. Under the water vapor, Xia Jingyu's eyes were filled with suspicion. She let out a faint smile. It's hard for me to believe that you are blind. Whether it's facing the enemy, opening the jade box, or even now, even a person with good eyesight like me can't see it, but a blind person like you can see it with a single glance. You make me feel ashamed of my inferiority. Hearing her mocking words, Su Yu's mouth gaped. He was not really blind. His eyes could fool others for a short period of time, but it would not be effective in the long run. Everything has a sound, Su Yu said seriously. I was born with shocking hearing abilities, and I can listen to the sounds of everything. You can call it eyes and ears. Yes, eyes and ears. Xia Jingyu was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. Ears and eyes? Ha ha, eyes and ears. So the Black Snow Devil King still has eyes and ears. I am ignorant and inexperienced, and this is the first time I've heard of it. Suyu's face turned red, embarrassed. Let's not talk about it. We can talk about eyes and ears when we have the time. Let's take a look at these two first. Since they were hidden deeper than the 10,000 miles cloud-piercing mirror, they should not be ordinary items. Only then did Xia Jingyu happily take the 5-colored crystal. Looking at it, she creased her brows. Wait a moment. Let me think for a moment. There is too much knowledge in my mind, and this item is very rare. I will need some time. Suyu was dumbfounded. How many things could a person's mind contain for her to need to stop and search for them? After a few breaths, Xia Jingyu came back to her senses. Her expression changed. How is this possible? Why would this item appear in the hands of a human king? Suyu gasped. How many items in the world did not deserve to appear in the hands of a human king? Black Snow Devil King, give me this item, and I will exchange all of my divine artifacts with you. How about that? Xia Jingyu stood up, her expression serious. She still had 8 middle-grade divine artifacts left, and she was willing to give them all to him. Suyu clicked his tongue. At the very least, you should let me understand what this is. The divine crystal of the 5 elements. Xia Jingyu's tone was a little hurried. It was obvious that even someone as calm as her was shocked by this item. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Every attribute, when concentrated to an extreme, can condense into an origin. A shred of the aura of the origin can allow a martial artist of that attribute to go from a mediocre person to a super genius. Their cultivation techniques of the relevant attribute will allow them to advance by leaps and bounds. When they use weapons of the relevant attribute, their power will multiply. Only with countless auras of the origin can a crystal be formed. The crystal in front of us actually contains the origins of all 5 attributes at the same time. It is unimaginable. Based on my estimation, the value of this item is immeasurable. Suyu said seriously, how is it compared to a legendary level cultivation technique? Xia Jingyu froze for a moment, then shook her head. A legendary level cultivation technique can be exchanged for a shred of the aura of the origin. If I am not wrong, it is about the same as the divine herb in your body. Suyu gasped. A legendary level cultivation technique was only worth a shred of the aura of the origin. In that case, how much would the eyeball-sized origin crystal in front of him be worth? As if she had heard Suyu's thoughts, Xia Jingyu thought for a moment, then said seriously, if you want to exchange it for a cultivation technique, it would probably be a legendary fairy-level cultivation technique. Moreover, it would be a high-level fairy-level cultivation technique. Suyu froze. There are fairy-level cultivation techniques in this world? Xia Jingyu nodded, then shook her head. It is rumored that there were such techniques in the past. After the era was destroyed, there were no more. In the world today, the strongest cultivation technique should be a legendary level cultivation technique. In the entire continent, there are no more than 3 people who have cultivated legendary level cultivation techniques. One is the King of Darkness, the other is the 9th Saint Master, and the last is Inu. In the end, Xia Jingyu's tone was filled with pride and arrogance. Suyu did not know that in this world, there were only 3 people who had cultivated legendary level cultivation techniques. However, within this origin crystal of the 5 elements, only a few shreds of the aura of the water and fire origin remain. The rest have long been squeezed dry. However, just the shreds of the water and fire origin within are enough to exchange for a basic legendary level cultivation technique. Of course, that is if other legendary level cultivation techniques exist in this world. Regaining his senses, Suyu rolled his eyes. Since it is so precious, why did you take a few middle-grade divine artifacts? Hee. Hearing Suyu's "you are very evil" expression, Xia Jingyu blushed. I was too impatient. Xia Jingyu handed the origin crystal of the 5 elements back to Suyu. Since you obtained this item, it naturally belongs to you. I do not have anything to exchange for it. Although her tone was calm, it was not difficult to hear the regret and disappointment in her voice. Does this mean that the origin can be absorbed? That will be of great help to my abilities? Suyu rubbed his chin. Xia Jingyu nodded slightly. Just as she was feeling conflicted, Suyu suddenly sat opposite her and placed the origin crystal of the 5 elements between them. Since that is the case, you can absorb as much of the water origin as you can. Although I obtained this item from killing the Cowox clan, you and I fought together. It would be unreasonable for me to take it all for myself. Xia Jingyu froze. During the battle, she had only been able to restrain one person. The Cowhorn man had been killed by Su Yu, and she had not contributed much. Actually, if she had died fighting 2 people alone, she would have lost more than she won. Xia Jingyu had been able to restrain one person to have a chance of winning, so she deserved a share of the spoils. There are only a few shreds of the water origin left. Don't regret it. Xia Jingyu was a little nervous and a little embarrassed, so you could not be bothered to respond. He summoned his clone, sat down cross-legged, and began to absorb the origin of fire. After absorbing a shred of the aura, the clone's body suddenly glowed with a red light, emitting a terrifyingly high temperature. Even a master, Su Yu, was implicated. He staggered and rolled away, and his clothes were burnt. Looking at the clone, which had erupted into flames 1,000 feet tall, Su Yu secretly gasped. Just absorbing a shred of the aura of the origin of fire gave Su Yu a sense of extreme danger. Based on his intuition, if the clone were to attack now, he would be able to kill the Cowhorn man without using any techniques. Xia Jingyu's eyes were filled with excitement. Her whole body was filled with water vapor, and she began to absorb the water origin. After absorbing a shred of the aura, a great, raging river formed above Xia Jingyu's head. Although the momentum was not as shocking as the flames, a normal king would probably be smashed to death by the raging river. Suyu stood outside alone, staring at the scene in a daze. However, both of them had only absorbed a shred of the aura before stopping. The origin was too large for them. Just a shred of it was already their limit.